And Trenton newspaper, Golden Ward and City Hall. Following the city clerk's office on July 1st, 2006. The agenda for this meeting was now posted and filed on May 11th, 2007. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Okay.
Present.
Present.
Should be
present.
Here.
Here. Thank you. I'm assuming Ms. Martinez, I want to shoot give you a call for some reason. Is everyone with me? We'll assume that we take calls for this opportunity. Welcome back. You know, I understand that you haven't been feeling too well. Good to see you back on board. I hope all's well with you. Okay, we're at the 5 o'clock portion of the meeting. Doctor review. Yes, sir. Okay, with the 5 o'clock, what was it? Change the docket or?
Yes, it's pertaining to the docket, and what I'd like to do, I'd like to follow up what we were discussing in the executive session very briefly with Mr. Locker regarding the development of a committee from council.
Okay. Let me ask you, are there any other executive session items? Okay. Well, I would say if we finish the business and stick to the script, maybe we can do that because then we get in right into executive session. Maybe at that time, people can make sure. And Mr. Norman had left, so he may not be quite sure exactly what we're talking about. And I talked up, so we can take it off. Okay, so we're at the 5 o'clock portion of the meeting, docket review. Appearances by Renee Henry, speaker staff. I understand that you'll not be joining in today, so you're under the weather a little bit. Flying Bomb Business Administrator and Dennis Gonzalez. Two hats. Assistant VA and Acting Director of Housing and Economic Development. That sound pretty good? Without husband, father. Okay. Madam Clerk, just a minute.
Then we have an ordinance amending ordinance 03-7 entitled Ordinance Continuing Certain Positions and Salary Ranges Therefore and setting forth certain regulations for the implementation of these ranges for acting as local 22 and 6. We have graphic information system specialist 3, a salary range of $37,032 to $58,900.
Yes, sir.
I just had a question about the salary ranges. Who sets the rank when we designate the salary range?
It's generally set with regard to comparable types of positions in terms of education or experience, and based upon those standards, if it's a new title.
And showing my newness,
There are the Department of Personnel has certain specifications with regard to minimum qualification, education, experience, etc. And generally, that's taken into consideration with regard to any new title.
I was under the impression that council set the salaries.
Salary range?
Well, no, that we could set a specific amount.
Well, I know there's bargaining units, they're agreed, there's agreed starting and middle and top in terms of salaries. And then there are salaries, there are ordinances with regard to salary and cabinet units that are set by semi-ordinance. And then with regards to, we just think that we hire someone No, you may, I may be sure my own.
But also, part of that is setting, salaries. So if they decide that this is geographic information system specialist three, whoever it is, not knowing who it is, $150,000 period. Is that law? Is that wrong?
Well, actually, under the law, the mayor was the salary over the departments, set for the department, which council. But basically, it was done by salary orders, so there's no question about whether or not a lot of these things can be done by orders. But given the fact that Trenton has traditionally done it that way, this will continue, where it's really a question of the city council and the mayor. Because obviously you pass the ordinance, the mayor has to sign it. But technically, in this book, the mayor sets the salaries, everyone below the department. But just to go back to the structure, I guess I don't know. There has to be something. Yes. The department personnel has a list of municipal salaries, municipal titles.
We saw an example of this when we were dealing legislative. Right. We had that list right down as 1 to 12, 14.
Right.
So we're confined to working within that structure. In any one of these structures.
Well,
that high, that low.
well, not necessarily numbers. I don't think the part of personnel position.
They're doing it again here. You can't even hear them.
Salary. I think we would have some common market, public market. On top of it, thank you.
Ordinance amending chapter 206 of the code of the city of Trenton regarding peddlers soliciting an itinerant vendor. It is moved by Ms. State, who wishes to do it. 1DL ordinance extending the sale of city-owned property previously authorized by ordinance 06-07. Is moved by Mr. Buffet. 1EL ordinance extending the sale of city-owned land previously authorized by ordinance 06-02. Is moved by Mr. Buffet.
Any other communication with petitions, ladies and gentlemen?
Okay.
Anything in the reports? No applications in line? New business. Well, I know some of these results. This is the portion of this across the firehouse, parallel to the Yellow Green 2 portion. I know we talked about this.
Corner at 99 Pennington Avenue.
I know we talked about this for a while, and I'm glad to finally see that it's coming to fruition here.
Some of the money is coming from the county open space fund, and most of the rest of the money is coming from other sources.
Question, this is a passive part? What, I mean,
Yeah.
what is it?
It will be a passive part because it has been said. It also improve the appearance of the neighborhood.
Absolutely.
I believe there used to be a gas station there, so it will cap.
Are there plans or drawings for that? What it look like? Or what it will look like?
Yeah, there are.
Could you share that with council? When you get a chance, I'd like to see. The only reason why I asked, I was just recently asked about a park over there. That was the only park that I knew about. And I know that we have been waiting for that for a little while. after Willow 2 was completed. I think the second question to that effect, not that we could expect any more change to this necessarily, and I don't know if Mr. Stay has been approached by it, but there are some parents who question whether or not a park could go on some of the property on Pigway, I think Pashley Avenue, that runs parallel to Monument School. There's a plot of land over there. It's city grass. City open space. City open space. I think they were questioning whether or not a playground was over there to allow some of the kids, that a lot of little kids living over there. I asked them to put a petition together and get in contact with them. No for it.
I was over here about a couple of weeks ago. Came to the neighbors had been letting me come at all, Mr. President.
All right.
They had other questions.
I didn't say 50 people go. I know a young man that lives over there. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Park, Camp Walden.
Oh, this is something different.
No, it's the same thing. Mr. President, Director, I'm asking for the grant information and the schedule on Cad Walden Park. That is a critical piece that we've been waiting for some time. I don't know where the money is. I don't know where the plans are, but I'd like to have something tangible.
Okay.
Okay? In writing. Thank you.
Like Mr. Gus, you'll share with us the design for that part, and it will be a passive. Is it going to be fenced in or open?
I'm sure it will be open. It's not intended to be fenced in, but it will be passive, and it will also serve as a cap.
So that begs the question.
Yes, ma'am.
This park right now, the street violation.
Which I'm talking about, that mining? What part?
Near, the health center. And what happened to that park? Mr. Bethea, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened to that park?
You talking about the park?
Uh-huh.
God bless you. You talking about the park next to the Henry J. Austin Health Center?
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
My recollection of that park was it was misused. That was a concrete park that was graffiti, riddled,
And what else, Mr. President? Keep going.
I think it was concrete, yeah. And I think we just made it open. Made it open.
So now we're gonna make another piece of open space to do what?
Well, this is a
Keep passing?
this is a lot that's it's a filthy lot. It's a filthy lot, and it had bandit cars on it.
How about we build a recreation center?
I mean, we had the money to do it.
We got the money to have a park, and we have to clean up the center every 15 minutes. I like to use the overtime on that building.
With
me, Mr. President?
Am I with you?
Are you with me?
I want that area cleaned up. I want the area cleaned up. I think the area needs to be cleaned up. I would be surprised if anybody wants to look at the neighbors. I don't know that I'm talking about. I'm not interested in this. Possibly cleaned up. Cap, I think the site, did you say the site was environmentally,
President, could you just handle this over here?
I'm sorry. Okay. Did you say that area was environmentally sensitive, that little plot of land?
I believe that area, that corner until it used to be a gas station. Yeah, there are environmental issues. The creation of a small passive park on that parcel will serve as a cap. But yeah, we considered housing on that parcel. It probably would cost $500,000 or more to excavate and build housing for that. So we'd rather have something other than an unsightly lot. And this was the cheapest solution to addressing that issue and also providing a place where some of the folks in the neighborhood can make use of it.
Well,
But I'm not finished.
Followed by Ms. Okay, Ms. Berkeley, you want to? Followed by Ms. Followed by Mr. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. President, I just beg to differ with that. It may be cheapest, but it's not in the best interest of the neighborhood. It cannot possibly be after what happened next to Henry J. Austin office. I think it might be something.
I'm sorry, can you speak up? I just missed the last part.
I beg to differ.
Right, I heard that.
I cannot believe that. This has nothing to do with Dennis. I mean, that's just the thing they came up with. It has to do with the neighborhood. That used to be Pumpkin's fruit stand, a cleaners, and the shrimp boat, and housing, and then around the corner used to be the famous steakhouse, for those who remember. Now listen, I understand
That lot you're talking
that
about.
whole parcel there,
Mhm.
that whole parcel from the gas station all the way up to,
Battle Mines?
yeah, that area there. If the first part failed and it was a passive part, although it was brick, why would we repeat that again in front of somebody's house like that? Didn't we just build a string of houses there?
On Tice Avenue. Tice Avenue.
So we're going to put a passive part in front of home ownership to create a situation that brings people into the area, as it did over there, where there was graffiti, drugs, alcohol, violence, gunfire, and what else? I'm just asking because, listen, at some point we have to say, hey, maybe we need to look at something else. That's all. And I'm way, look, I'm quite a few blocks away from West Trenton. I just asked the question. Because he said I could. I'm done.
You can't have him. Listen to the board. Yes, sir.
I thought that site was designated for the first part.
No. You up a little bit. You down a little bit. Across from the firehouse.
Okay.
Directly across from the firehouse.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, right at the light. Literally right at the light. The
So when
intersection.
you said that stretch there, I mean, that whole stretch was.
Literally at the intersection of Pennington and
And Willow.
Little. Right on the corner.
Okay. But the next block is where they built all of that stuff.
I got you, brother. I got you. Mr. Long, yes, sir.
Yes, very quick question. Mr. Gonzalez, you stated that the site would need extensive cleanup if it's used for anything else. Does that cleanup cause a concern or a hazard if it is a park?
No, that property is matters that we have had in the voluntary cleanup program before the park is built. We either have or will have a no further action plan. The CAP will serve, well, the park will be constructed and it will serve as a CAP. There is nothing that would come up out of the ground that would harm it. Mr. President, Mr. Gonzalez, if it's not used for a park, what else could that land be used for? We don't believe it could be used for anything. We can't use it for housing because it would be too expensive to excavate and dispose of the soil in order to build two houses. I mean, it's a very small parcel. Yeah.
Ms. Davis, yes, ma'am.
Is there a tank on the road?
There either isn't a tank or it has been removed if there has been one. I mean, that's a part of it. Tank removal is a part of what we do with all this.
So, this begs the question on top of this statement you said. Who has stated that the capping of the park would satisfy?
That's governed by the Department of Environmental Protection.
And you have that in writing?
We always...
I'm just saying for the record, you have that in writing, so we move ahead and later on they find out that this is some type of contamination, just hypothetically, they will bear the responsibility of cleaning up and remediating.
But the hypothetical can't be answered because the issue is that just like every other parcel, it's in the voluntary cleanup program. We present them with information. We do an analysis. We hire someone to do soil borings. We create a work plan to remediate the site. They have to approve it. Sometimes they request additional testings. And then once they approve it, they say, these are the things that you can do, and this is how you would do them in order to satisfy the state environmental requirements.
And then that brought us to where we're here.
Yeah, we've been talking about this for 5 years here.
I know. I know it's been on the table for
It's been on the table before this council on numerous occasions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I even asked you about it directly on the street.
I mean, this came up even originally when North Willow Green was on.
Right, initially.
And there was supposed to be some immensity. I'm sorry.
All right, roll call is happening, President. You want to roll call on this? Okay, roll call. Yes, ma'am, Madam Clerk. Thank you, Mr. Rose.
RCR, resolution accepting bid and awarding contract to Aaron Ford, Cherry Hill, New Jersey, for the furnishing and delivery of 2005 pickup truck, heavy duty lift gate, snow plow, for the Department of Public Works Division of Solid Waste Management, in an amount not to exceed $24,325. By CR, resolution accepting bid and awarding contract to Armando Construction of Columbus, New Jersey, for the furnishing and delivery of all labor and materials for the replacement of sidewalks and curbs at various locations for the Department of Inspection in an amount not to exceed $50,000.
Mr. President.
By CR,
Mr. President,
Mr. Costa, yes, sir.
what curve are we replacing?
Which one are you gonna show, sir? 5CR. That's always a good question, but I think it's a whole bunch of curves. This is just a little bit of money.
Yes,
sir.
we have a master list of sites that we need to work on. We create their list through the year. We get citizens calls. The sidewalks and curbs are those sidewalks and curbs that have been damaged by tree roots. That's under our ordinances, and any special projects that we may need. Sometimes we need to go down, for instance, in certain areas where the curbs have been crushed, we'll come in and we'll fix them and we'll repair them so that there's a clean running curb. But we do have a master list.
Can I get a comment?
Most certainly, Councilman.
So that would mean if they installed a tree in front of my house and cracked my sidewalk, they're responsible for it?
If the tree roots have damaged the sidewalk, then yes, we would replace those slabs.
They
If the tree
cracked
roots,
it when they put the tree in there.
when did they do that? When did they put the
Just
tree in?
once, like, a couple of years ago.
Mr. T can't be sure, so she's getting her street done right now.
And they shouldn't have.
Mr. Malone, yes, sir.
My question was just, Mr. Bucciati, does this also include curb cuts for the handicap accessibility or no?
No, we have a separate contract that we put out. We put out 2 or 3 contracts a year. That's under a court order that was worked out by our law department for the installation of those curb cuts throughout the entire city. And that's an ongoing process. It's constantly moving. Separate and apart from this.
Mr. Bucciati, can you provide me with a copy of that list also?
Sure.
All right, thank you.
Madam Clerk, yes, ma'am.
DR resolution authorizing the award of the contract to the repair and open process in accordance with NJSA 1944A-2025 as set to L. Robert Kimball and Associates of Westchester, Pennsylvania, to provide consulting services who specialize in land, mobile, radio, communication systems to assist in developing a planned approach to the city to address public safety radio communications requirements, as well as a migration plan to new and emerging public safety communications technology. The Department of Administration, Division of Information Technology and Communications, an amount not to exceed $72,195.
Ms. Clark, you might move to that layman plan?
Yes, I can. I'll given that I have Jim Gamron here, acting director, I'll let him elaborate on the contract with Kimball for an upgrade to our radio system.
Yes, sir, Mr. Damon.
Previously, before council, there have been a couple of resolutions, if you'll recall, in which the city entered into relationships, agreements with Nextel Sprint and Motorola for the rebanding of our radio system. We are required to basically change the frequencies in which we operate in our public safety radio system based on a redoing of basically the cellular system. And it is a complicated process that requires us to basically change radio equipment. What happens there is the bills are actually picked up by Sprint Nextel, but Kimball are experts in this technology and this rebanding process, which involves us working with the federal government and several vendors in doing this. So the purpose of this contract is basically to have a consultant on our side to see us through this, again, rather complicated process.
This is with regards to our own frequency?
With regard to our own radio system that we have now, basically moving to a new frequency.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am, Madam Clerk.
ER, a resolution authorizing an amendment to the contract with Walker, Knapp, Sorowski, and Elena LLC, Morristown, New Jersey, to provide professional legal services related to which was awarded to a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA 19:44A-20.5 etc. Additional funds not to exceed $90,000. And 5 FR, resolution authorizing the award of a contract to a parent of the process with NJSA 19:44A-20.5 Kennedy Salter and Supply of Hillsborough, New Jersey, furnish and deliver valve boxes to the Department of Public Works and Utilities in the amount not to exceed $23,695. Resolution authorizing the award of a contract to repair and open process in accordance with NJSA 19:44A-20.5 to Westfield Architects and Preservation Consultants, Haddon Heights, New Jersey, to provide professional architectural services based on elevated Douglas House for the Department of Recreation and Natural Resources and Culture, position of culture in the amount not to exceed $21,750.
Mr. President.
Yeah, go ahead, because I was back there.
Yes, will this be, Mr. Christie?
Yes.
Okay, the Douglas House on East Front Street. Yes, sir. Okay, is this gonna include a paint job and outside and pay for that building? That's what the 29 is for the first phase of the restoration of the outside. Okay, and, when is this start? What's the time for this? I don't have that city license for the contract.
Let me just follow up to Mr. Have you never done anything with the Douglas House? You haven't done nothing with the Douglas House? I mean, we've done a Trenton House, Eagle Tavern.
Been moved several times. The old Mill Hill Society used to volunteer and paint and then maintenance on the exterior. I don't know what happened after that.
I would fuck this stuff with the person done 100 times. Thank you. Madam Clerk, you
On Iowa, resolution accepting bid and awarding contract to Agate Construction Company, Ocean View, New Jersey, for furnishing and delivery of all labor, materials, equipment, concrete, removal, and bank stabilization at the Crescent Wire site for the Department of Housing and Economic Development, Division of Economic Development, in an amount not to exceed $659,300.
Well, back up. Was it 5 HR?
Yeah.
5 HR? Almost $700,000.
Well, I wanna know what this is all about.
Thank you.
659.
Thank you.
Actually, we're doing this for Sam's shop. It's for the George Page Park expansion. It's Green Acres Home.
Okay.
This is Long Avenue. Is this the? Why? Wait. I was just over there. I'm trying to get my site ready. What is this for again?
Right. Over on Old Avenue, the George Page Park, where all the civilians, we're looking at redoing that park.
For parking?
No.
Breaking that up and then turning it into. So then when people,
That's part of that whole asphalt project.
right. So then when people park that, when you come over on Sundays, and you know you get a couple hundred people over there on Sundays. I mean, I know that's temporary, but I'm just saying, is there contingency along that basis?
There's a plan, like that plan to be.
Okay, no, when you ready to present it to us, I'm just saying, you take that away, you might have people parking on top of the grass anyway. All right. Madam Clerk, thank you.
Contract to a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA 19:44A-20.5 effect. Gold Type Business Machine East Rutherford, New Jersey, to provide service maintenance of software at the Department of Police with the Department of Administration and Information Technology in an amount not to exceed $25,812.
I have a quick question. This first time I really make this software. With every software application, we generally have a maintenance contract during enhancements, any changes or upgrades to the software. This is used by the police department, obviously.
Talking about software, James, are we looking to the computers for this cruiser? The software inside those machines, are they working? The software or hardware?
Yes, yes.
Because there's a whole bunch of them not working.
Well, there was a problem with Verizon for a while in terms of communication. I believe that's been corrected, is that right?
Yes. Yeah, so all of the cruisers, computers are working fine now?
Best of my knowledge, they put Verizon opened a new cell site on north of the city, and it messed up communications to police cars from police headquarters and along the Ewing line. Okay, they worked on it steadily for like 3-4 days last week. The last I heard, I think, was Friday night, and everything was back.
Oh, thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Wilson?
No, I'm sorry, Mr.
No,
President.
I'm
sorry.
Madam Clerk, Ms. Miller.
J.R. Resolution authorizing settlement of a civil suit in the matter of Roy Stewart and guardian of for Tatiana Stewart versus Johnny L. Mann and the city of Trenton in the amount of $32,500.
Do we have some
No, let me ask you a very quick question. I know all of these at some point were discussed in executive session. But the question is, they come so late sometimes. Right. I remember. That had to be about 2-3 weeks ago at least.
Yes.
It came here. I'm just saying, can we expedite getting it on immediately so that way we won't have to go through as much discussion as the question. Just in terms of we have it. The resolution and then meeting. You do the resolution and then meeting. If you have a agreement. That way they won't be backed up. Because sometimes I forget. I know the issues is okay. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I don't know. You don't want to
all of these were discussed.
You don't want to be violent.
All of these were discussed.
You were.
Okay. Good.
If you say so.
Yes, ma'am. They won't be on here if we didn't discuss it.
Whatever you say.
Resolution authorizing settlement of a civil suit in the matter of Charles Senior versus Gregory F. Hill, P.W. City of Trenton, agency and for John Doe's 1 day free in the amount of $36,250. 5LR, resolution authorizing settlement of a civil suit in the matter of Frederick N. Morris and Deborah A. Morris versus Robert Arguire, Jr., City of Trenton, and John Doe's in the total amount of $275,000.
This is
5MR, resolution accepting a reimbursement grant from the State of New Jersey Department of Agriculture for their fiscal year 2008 Summer Food Service Program for children. 5NR, resolution amending resolution 05-445, which authorized a contract with Golden Wheel Associates for extraordinary unspecified services in the form of expert financial consulting services.
Now that means we got problems. This is when it's unspecifiable. Are we okay?
Yes, this is for, that is an appropriate form for financial consulting services.
Well, I want to know what was unspecifiable services was.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
5LR, resolution accepting the state law enforcement officer claim accepting fund application provided by the Security Department of Law and Public Safety and Justice Training Commission created by the legislature under the provisions of the Law Enforcement Officer Protection Act, Public Laws 1996, Chapter 116.
I like this all around.
that a, Mr. President?
Yes, sir.
Is this a grant from the state of New Jersey?
Yes, from the Division of Criminal Justice, and it's for police training equipment.
How much is that grant?
15 to 35.
It's not a lot.
Very little money.
Oh, man. Is that much we're worth it?
You get 2 computers. Survey's not included.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Clerk. Okay.
And authorizing and directing the return of fee, Jacob White, $160. Resolution authorizing the award of contract to Mott McDonald of Millburn, New Jersey, to provide professional engineering services for the study, design, and preparation of plans and specifications for a $296,000
put a lot of money in my pocket running that mouse.
water, mining, and main extension program, Department of Public Works, water utilities, to a fair and open process in accordance with NJSA.
You actually have explanation on that?
Yes.
Mr. President, anything?
Whole Pennsylvania and Keenan, North Carolina.
You do that mean?
Yeah.
Mr. Jackie, you still talking to me?
Yes, I can, Mr. President.
Tell us 6 minutes.
All right. This is a part of our continuation of our contract with Mott McDonald, where we hired them to provide oversight and engineering design planning for our cleaning and water of our lining program for our main throughout the city. As you know, the administration along with the Department of Public Works have put out the new RFP to sell the assets, RFP to sell the outside assets to the city water system. As a result of that, I've asked Montgomery Mott McDonald to revise their existing plans that the next 2 phases of that program would have been in Hamilton Township. So I've asked them to revise their plans, resend documentation that they must prepare for us to New Jersey DEP, because this is funded through the New Jersey Infrastructure Program. So that has to be re-permitted through them. So there is that for us, and it will reduce the price from $466,000 down to just about $300,000, $296,000.
Is this the same type of work that Gunite Construction did for us? Gunite Construction, that they go in and they...
Yes, they are actually the resident company that goes and do the physical cleaning, but Hatchmont provides the engineering oversight and design work for us that is supplied to the DEP to allow that to happen.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am, Madam Clerk.
Resolution 5, SR resolution authorizing transfers to be made by the Director of Finance for the fiscal year 2007 appropriation.
The five clear on for the rest of them, I'll give you this resolution insertion discussion items. One time, we'll do
Okay.
let's do 5 clear on it. Yes, sir. Mr. Councilman. No.
Transfers to make up for budget deficiencies, I guess?
In New Jersey budget law, after May, while we're in the state fiscal year, it's actually the last 2 months of the budget year, you can do transfers within cap, the category of expenditures. This is basically to cover expenditures in various budgets, taking it from others that has few extra dollars.
I noticed that two of the recipients total $5 million salary and wages. The police team $3.5 million. I guess that's overtime.
Primarily,
So we're going to hit about $10 million.
yeah.
Where are we going to be?
Well, we budgeted over $5 million, so,
So we're going to be 8.5.
no. Not all of it is overtime.
No.
No.
Thank you.
Claims Madam Clerk, yes, ma'am.
5TR, resolution providing for the insertion of a special item of revenue in the budget of the municipality pursuant to NJSA 40A:4-87. U.S. Department of Justice, U.S. Marshal Service, $13,000.
Yes, sir, Mr. Yes, sir.
Since these are all insertion of revenue items, possibly the clerk would just like to read the 5TR and the description of amount.
That's a good idea, I guess that's really good. She's just reading ahead of the watch, and she's going to be inserted after that.
5UR, NJDL, 2007 Project Coordinator Training Program, $41,262. 5BR, State of New Jersey Enhanced 911 Equipment Grant, $2,000.
Yeah.
5UR, no, 11R, Resolution, State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, National Marker Stream Corporation, $1,273,563.
Was that the item that came before us, Mr. Greenwald brought before us?
That was an item that was brought before the council. Yes.
Right. Okay. Restore
March.
Absolutely. Okay. I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
5XR, New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, fiscal year 06 training and equipment, $15,235. 5YR, New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, youth rings to drive reduced, $2,066,000.
It's a good campaign. I see that on TV all the time. All right.
5BR, Department of Law and Public Safety, fiscal year 2005, auto replacement program, $32,892.
That down, please.
RTR, New Jersey Department of Law and Public Safety, fiscal year 06. 5AAR, New Jersey Department of Health, HSS, 2006 Public Health, priority funding, $35,637. 5AAR, NJ5, HSS, 2007 Pandemic Influenza Preparedness, $14,423. 5ATR, County Emergency Department of Human Services, Title 20, $173,532.
What's that for? Aging for me?
One question for that.
Which one?
On the 5 APR. Looking at those resolutions, why don't you describe the services that are provided? Instead of just talking about just salary and things like that. I'd like to know the exact programs and the services that go to those people. The resolution only talks about, the salary and allocation of money like that, not the services that the people receive. I'd like to see a little bit more of that throughout. Please.
No, this comes with the money is used for.
Exactly.
Are you asking for an explanation or you just?
No. I just want to know. Okay. I want a little bit more explanation.
But for the record, what are we using $172,000
right.
with regards to aging for? Do you have an idea? Well, put it this way: is it programmatic?
All programs.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
5ADR, U.S. Department of Justice, Drug Enforcement Administration, $50,573.
Some of these law enforcement ones do to pay officers and BNEs.
That's for overtime part of task force. All of these items are being put to council for the programmatic provisions.
That's my view.
Okay. But we just.
Yeah, they can't be inserted into, they cannot be inserted into the budget until after the council has approved accepting the money. So all of these have had resolutions before the city council accepting the money for the articulated services.
No, I have to judge everything. I don't remember when all these things come up with, because they come up with so much, and then we move them all into the budget at a certain point in time. I mean, these are all monies that we've already received, right?
For the most part, the money that we have received.
Yes, ma'am.
5AER, resolution, County of Mercer, 2007, back on track program, $80,000. 5AFR, New Jersey Department of State, New Jersey State Council on Arts Projects for HCR, NJBHS, 2007, primary presentation, 5AHR, NJBHSS, 2007, priority funding, $36,504. 5AIR, NJBHSS, 2007, Health Incentive Program for Women with Children with HIV and AIDS outreach, $2,100. 5AKR, Emergency Food and Shelter Program, EVUW, $91,100. 5ALR, Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, $83,158. 5MR, NJBHSS, Prevention Oriented System, Child Health, $2,153. 5ANR, County of Mercer, Willow Street Plaza, $7,500.
God bless you.
President.
Yes, ma'am. God bless you. Yes, ma'am.
How does this affect the resolution we talked about earlier? 5AR, it doesn't.
City Council already adopted a resolution accepting $57,500 from the County of Mercer for the development of that site.
Of that particular part? Yeah.
Madam Clerk, yes, ma'am.
5AOR, State of New Jersey, enhanced 911 general assistance grant, $30,000.
Just tell me a little bit about that, please. What confuses me is
Which one is
enhanced
this?
911 and then general assistance. See, I'm at welfare, I only know general assistance is being for the indigent population of single people.
Is that something that you're aware of?
Enhanced
Yeah, the purpose of it?
Yeah.
It's to allow geographic location of a person with a cell phone from the 911 center.
It's
So,
big brother outreach or what? Okay. Next thing I know, you'll be tracking my, but.
Don't give me any idea.
To be able to track a phone call from a cell phone,
that's correct.
but a cell phone, I understand that when you make a phone call to 911, a cell phone goes directly to the state police, not to the, not to our 911.
There are other things that go with this. There are phases of compliance and along, which I'm not all that familiar with. I'm not from communications, but the phase 2 compliance piece of this has to do with, and that's what this grant is for, is to allow someone who calls in with an emergency to be located if they have a modern cell phone. It will allow the software that allows them to be found.
Or to come to us then, maybe. I mean, is that call going to come to us, or just continue with that kind of software?
I can only assume that it's coming to us because the software is for our 911 center.
Okay.
I have another question about, there is a way that we established to answer cell phone calls coming to the facility.
But the state police, if I may,
Yeah.
then transfers you to our number. And I guess that's what the tracking mechanism is when they ask for tracking. It's general assistance on trying to teach you, but I knew we heard you. Right.
They was discriminating like that.
So that has to be it. When it's transferred to, well, you can give us a better explanation at the next meeting. We can hold it. It's Thursday.
I'm still not understanding you with this.
This is compliance, you said?
It has to do with what's called phase 2 compliance of basically regulations, and that's all I can really tell you. That's not my specific area of expertise for the company.
By Thursday? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
5APR, 2007, community-based alcoholism, drug abuse prevention, early intervention, $127,523.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
at some point, director school, like some information about what we're doing to the kids in our school system. You know, for alcoholism and drug abuse, but what programs we have in place. I'm familiar with some, but I just like to know the real role that it's playing.
Yes, ma'am, Madam Clerk.
AQR, NJD, HSS, Special Supplemental Nutrition Program, $295,000.
Who's going to be doing the WIC program?
5ARR, resolution of the city of Trenton making an application to the local finance board pursuant to JSA 40A:2S20, JSA 40A:3-1 and sec. 5FR, AFR. Resolution awarding contract to SunGuard HTTC, Oxygen Public Safety Solutions, Project North Carolina, furnishing and delivery of integrated public safety system, the Department of Administration, Division of Communications, in an amount not to exceed $1,324,739.
Yeah, hold on.
Yes, Ma'am. Yes, ma'am. $1 million. Could you tell us what you're asking me to sign off on?
Yes, sir, I can let you know, and Jim can give you the details, but we have been in the process for, I guess, the better part of the last year and a half to go out to bid for a new computer-aided dispatch records management system.
Chat,
Police,
chat
fire,
system?
yes, for police, fire, and communications. This has been a long process of developing an RFP, doing a requirements analysis before that, yes. Going out to bid and evaluating the bids, having presentations from bidders, narrowing it down to a small number of respondents, and then determining which would be the best solution for the city. We're in a position where, as you know, we need a records management system for both police and fire. We need a new CAD system that's really beyond its useful life. This is an integrated solution that we are ready to award. This company was the top winner, so to speak, of all of the criteria that were evaluated and requested by the various branches of public safety. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I'll just say that our current system is over 10 years old. The company that is providing it, we have is really not in a position to support it very well. We're having difficulty with the database, and it's really time for us to move from an old, if you will, an old DOS-based plain text system to a newer modern system. It's Windows-based, driven by maps and smart dispatching and things that are kind of like um, um, just a more modern approach to the way that you deal with this kind of information. Technology just wasn't available, 11 years ago. So we've been through an extensive process, including site visits. We had a team that represented from all the public safety organizations participate in the evaluation and visits. And we went out for bid and did site visits, as Jim said, exhaustive evaluations, and feel we have the best deal available for what we need.
Mr. T, followed by Mr. Segura, followed by Mr. Taylor.
President, I have a few questions. I'll be quick. I want to know what the life is on this and what the maintenance package is. Because I'm questioning, at over $1 million, how long is this project going to work for me? As you know, in MIS, these projects, integrated or not, move very quickly out of usefulness. So, for lack of a better word, what's the life on the project? I mean, it's integrated. How far am I going to be able to build into this project and build out, number one? And number two, what's the maintenance package on this $1 million project?
From my understanding of it, a system like this, and this is of course with a company that has a proven track record. Obviously, they have systems installed in other municipalities. We looked at the financial health of the company as well, because you don't want to buy from a company that may not be around.
Moody and Forrest has a report on it somewhere. Were you spending this kind of money?
Pardon?
Moody and Forrest?
Well, Standard & Poor's is generally the greater company.
I'm sorry, Standard &
Yeah,
Poor's.
when you so far you fiscal health, we did a review of any of the final contestants, so to speak, or the respondents who were narrowed down for the end of the process. This company has been around for quite a while, has a very strong balance sheet from what we can tell, and is committed to enhancing their product. They're representative in many, many municipalities throughout the country in terms of police and fire departments.
There sure isn't.
So, to answer your question, I'm expecting this to last at least 10 years. Quite frankly, when we started this process, we thought a system based upon our understanding would cost closer to $2 million. We had very competitive bids and got what I thought was an excellent price for the scope of the system.
You must have understood my question completely, because my next question was going to be, at this price, for an integrated system, for what you're looking for, this is a low price.
It is not bad at all, and we have built into it extra training over and above what the standard training is. So there is extra cost built in here, or extra value, I should say, with the cost built into this contract.
Is this state pending?
No. No, they're not in the state, but they have.
They're from North Carolina. Are they a state vendor in the state of North Carolina?
Yes, oh yes, they have a presence in their own state,
Okay.
absolutely.
The maintenance package.
There was no maintenance cost the first year, and what we negotiated was a year from the system fully
Installation.
fully operational, yes.
Fully
So we
operational
sign off on it.
installation.
Fully operational, then we get a year's maintenance included in it, and then thereafter there's a maintenance cost, which is true, obviously, for everyone.
For every package,
Software package.
particularly a project. You're telling me that I got 10 years on this project.
I think, I'm very comfortable with saying that, yeah.
Okay.
10 years, Mr. Short, lengthy.
Yep.
Mr. Segura, thank you, Mr. Taylor, for answering this question.
Just a couple of questions. Okay, this is going to be actually, we know that, the fiber optic is coming through. It is here in Trenton anyway right now, which is going to make everything so better. However, though, is this integration, voice and data?
Voice over IP?
Voice and data, voice and data. I mean, data and communication voice. You know what I'm talking about, Jim?
Yes. This system, basically, the integration really is around the various organizations that need CAD, fire, police, and emergency services, and integrating the applications for the various organizations together in one platform. So having the fire system be able to talk to the police system appropriately, to be able to share the mapping and track the vehicles and those kinds of things, that kind of integration. So our own network plays a large part in that, obviously, but we do have the infrastructure to support it.
Okay. The other thing is, you know, I think some of us, you know, are familiar with this technology. You know, I spent all my whole life, you know, working on this thing as an engineer. Why can't we see some type of demo, you know, just like you guys did when you bought that big telephone system? I would have loved to see, you know, hands-on, you know, the real deal, so that I can have my opinion on it, you know, myself. So I think that some type of demo, you know, should have been passed through here, you know, for the approval of such a monumental project.
This was a process in which there was a team of people involved in reviewing or in putting together the requirements for it and ensuring that those requirements were in the RFP, and then after we received responses, reviewing the responses, having presentations both by management level people and line people to look at it, to look at its facilities and capabilities, and doing site visits for the finalists, you know, for sites that were comparable to Trenton. So it's a very major system with a lot of different components. It has a CAD component, it has a records management component for police, it has a records management component for fire because of the differences in the needs of those two different agencies. It's not something that you can't get a very good understanding of it just by a cursory presentation for a half an hour or an hour. It's a fairly complicated, integrated system. We did do a lot of due diligence on this, a tremendous amount. How many months would you say, Jim, we were starting from the requirements analysis? It's probably 2 years?
Yeah, it's been, the
Jim,
process
believe me,
started.
it would not take me much to understand all of that.
Well, Councilman, if you would like, once we have signed a contract with this firm, we'd be happy to have you in to have a presentation of what the capabilities are in the system.
That's all. I just
no
wanted to see
objection at all.
if I am, you know, to sign for something like that, I'd like to be part of it. And also, I know that you do that with other protection, but I like to protect my own side too. You know, that's all.
What we can do is set up a demonstration. We can have the vendor in. We'll give you a high-level look at what the system
Yeah,
is.
please.
Okay?
Right. And oh, by the way, last question. Do you, after you, let's say you be trained and everything else, you know, and how to use the system and all that, but do we want to train also our own people, you know, to maintain after the fact? Because it's not they're not going to maintain the system, you know, for the lifetime of the system, right?
This system is fairly easy to maintain. It's much easier to create, let's say, custom reports or to add fields.
Are we going to train our own personnel here?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, we will.
That's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, that's
Thank you, Mr. Segura. Madam Clerk, this man.
5.8.1, resolution authorizing utilization of competitive contracts with public bidding for occupational health services and emergency medical services as required in the Department of Administration.
Mr. President, quick question about the occupational health services.
Yes, ma'am, I'm right behind you.
Who's going to answer that? You or Carol?
I will. This comes out of administration. This is the occupational health contract, which has expired.
Excuse me, Jane, excuse me. I want to hear this, guys. I can't hear you across. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. This comes out of administration. This is the occupational health contract that the city has for the screening, for pre-employment testing, for anyone who gets injured on the job. And the contract expired in December.
Who's that contract with?
That's with corporate health.
Corporate health.
Corporate health.
Dr. Johnson?
No, it's with, we've had it with corporate health. We're out to bid now. This is to allow us to enter into a competitive contract with any respondent to not enter into, but to evaluate based on a competitive contract.
Right. Okay, the evaluation is going to be important because I have some experience with occupational health on some of the services they provide. And if you're not careful, you have a lot of issues presenting that should have been taken care of there, which will be up here. Okay, that's it.
So that's with regard, that's what we were 7 individuals who were injured on the job?
It's a number of different functions, including, people who are, employees who are injured on the job. It's for drug screening, it's for random testing, it's for pre-employment evaluation.
Did that EMS portion have anything to do with ambulatory services?
Pardon?
Did the EMS portion of it have anything to do with ambulatory services?
No, it has nothing to do with EMS. It has to do with...
Just the nature and scope of the service?
Yes,
That's needed.
yes.
Okay. When I just saw EMS, I didn't know that. Just my member.
AUR resolution to the council for the compliance application and authorizing and directing return of fees. Marcelina Rosario, $125. 5ABO, an ordinance authorizing a lease agreement between the city of Trenton and Ollie Johnson for the use of vacant city-owned property for gardening, 413 Patterson Avenue. 5AWO, ordinance authorizing a lease between the city of Trenton and Giselle Vega for the use of vacant city-owned property for gardening, 229-31.
Yeah, Ms. White, anything else for the record?
No, sir, that's it.
All right, Madam Clerk.
The resolution for a special council committee. Whereas the education of our city students is of utmost importance to the legislative body here in the city of Trenton, and whereas in this education is jeopardized due to the falsification of student records and lack of effectiveness of our school administrators and staff, it becomes incumbent on this body to investigate these issues and the system as a whole. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Trenton, New Jersey, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Trenton, New Jersey, does hereby establish a special investigatory committee to examine the inefficiencies of the Trenton education system and selects 3 council members to investigate these problems.
Actually, I think I can give you guys some information on this. You should have a meeting with council members who will serve on the investigation.
Who will they do? Who shall they do?
Well, we discussed that. and I have three names, but because what you stated, because Mr. Gonzalez may have to recuse himself because his position was Board of School Estimate. Ms. Dayton, Councilman DeFeo, and Councilman Seville may have to recuse themselves. So that's why they did it. So I went to call to find out. Yeah. So, I'd like to know, to make sure that we're, like Caesar's wife, beyond the truth.
I think if you are a little more specific as to what you'll be investigating, you can determination in the formal investigating committee as to whether or not Mr. Segura is intelligent. I think it's pretty clear, as I said, it's me, that you and Councilman State do not participate in the investigation of education because it's doing as members of the Board of School Estimate, depending on the direction that this investigation is going. I doubt they will involve matters involving the Board of School Estimate. But unless you're specific in this instance, I think these are more policy matters, at least the feeling that I got from the discussion that I heard from members of council's thoughts that being investigated would be more along the policy that the Board of Education implemented or how specific members of the administration, the school administration, and faculty, certain duties, things like that. I don't think they're going to develop all those school lessons. So these schools will have 5 members. But depending on where it's going, where it goes eventually, they might have to.
Then at that, then my question would be, Mr. Lockwood, at that point, I asked before and I'll ask now that you review this, and that
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you say that.
it's not limited to a certain amount of people that you have to have, is it?
Well, when you form the committee, you need to specify who are the members of that committee in the resolution.
But it doesn't have to be 2 or 3 or 6.
Now,
It could be any number you choose.
it could be 7 or some subset of the council body. But it should, I personally think we should make reference to the powers the council to investigate that statute and the statutory.
Pursuant to that agreement.
Right.
Exactly. However,
And those types.
as we look to this, because we're having this discussion and we have to have it in public, one of the things that I need some clarification on, as it relates to not just this, but, moving forward with the issue presented with the school board is, do we need to put Dr. Lytle's name on here? We can subpoena Dr. Lytle as well, right?
You don't need to put the individuals that you're going to subpoena.
Okay, all right.
You don't need to put the names of the individuals that you're going to subpoena in this particular resolution. This resolution is to form an investigating committee.
That's just a committee.
And to specify what they're going to investigate. And I think that part of it, you had some of that information there, maybe it needs to be refined a little bit. I just saw this as
I'd like to ask Mr. Bethea, if I may, that Mr. Lockwood take a look at this and give some guidance and direction legally, so that we're not back at this again.
That's why we have this, I appreciate that, recommendation, man. That's why we have a public discussion on it now. Can you be so kind as to look at that, sir, and
yeah,
give us something by, I'll get it to you, and give it to me by, hopefully by Thursday.
When he provides that information, if I may, Mr. President, also would like some further direction as to the subpoena process and who we can and cannot tap, if that is in fact the case, okay?
Depending on what you're investigating, you can tap just about anything.
Okay.
Shouldn't we still be defined?
Well, that's what we're doing.
That's
That's what we're doing.
He's going
Well, I
to,
want to
we're going to
leave
be
your
able to talk it
input.
out, and I'm going to have input from my colleagues also. This is not a one-time show.
That's it, ladies.
In the public.
Mr. Martin, let me ask you a question. Just, we're kind of diving into an area that we haven't gone down, or I haven't gone down. I know we've had special committees to review things specifically, but when you talk about subpoenas from individuals, i.e. Falcon Power subpoenas that come before the special committee, does that person have all the rights under the United States Constitution? Specifically, could one bring an attorney and invoke the committee? And this could be a process.
This should be not an informal process, but a formal.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I would suggest that you have a recorder and have a transcript and prepare as the testimony is given. And have, rather, you should be prepared with specific questions rather than just the random people.
And purpose-wise, would this be to prepare a report or some sort, or this investigatory investigation? You're investigating as a public body to inform the public.
That's what the committee will do. We want those little changes, a possible report, and then possible recommendations.
Yeah, and that's where it would end. You have to understand that you don't have any power to order anything.
So recommendations.
Mr. President, I think we're heading in the right direction for no other reason that there were questions, as you know, that I was prepared for last week that did not have the authority as the governing body here. And at that time we were advised by Mr. Alaka that this would be the avenue, if we were going to do anything at all, that we would need to take.
Right.
And so with respect to that, I think it's just a matter of, for me, the position is I want to know what happened. I don't want the watered down version. I just simply want to know what happened.
But the only thing I would share, and I think I'm fully supportive in terms of where we're moving to. I think all of us at some point kind of should be report now. I know I've read it once or twice and highlighted a couple of areas.
Department of Education report?
Yeah, the special education department committee report. And specifically in terms of what it said, and then we had the superintendent saying that he's working on a the corrective action plan to respond back to that. I think he had a deadline to do that by the first week in June 4th, so there's a response. I don't know how quick we can get this committee up on board. My assumption is some of the questions that you want answered will probably also be in that response back to the board in terms of what happened and what you're going to do from here on out. Here's my fear. I mean, I think we're moving in the right direction, and I wish that he would have answered those questions.
But that's if he had answered those questions last week, we wouldn't be here this week.
Well, what I'm saying to you, if the committee had started tomorrow and we have those same powers, I think we probably would exercise those same rights, not the answer. So, I mean, we want answers. And I want some of the same answers because you saw that I took them right up to the starting line as well.
Hold on to that budget. People don't speak any faster than when they don't have budget.
That's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, you're right.
I hear where you're coming from, but at some point in time, whatever has come out has to come out publicly. Sooner than later, obviously, but I want to make sure that when we have questions sitting at the table, that we are getting the answers, and we're not getting the other ones.
President, I agree with you. We're all moving in the right direction, so what I suggest is that we, Mr. Lockley, look over the material, look over the resolution, reach out to the council, and reach out to Mr. Lockley who has any questions or input, and then we go from there.
And that, in fact, does have to be a public meeting, correct? We're in a meeting of the council under those officers.
Well, the investigative committee was generally public, but there were certainly, there may be situations where it might be necessary to close it.
Okay. And that may cause a difference as well.
I'd just like to ask if before we go through the time and expense, because this is not going to be an easy process, I'm certainly willing to be in it. Ask him, let's put some questions together and submit the questions to him and see if these are the questions area he's going to be governing. If so, we'll have our answers. If not, then we move forward. That's just my position, only because, look, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
Quick, you want to keep the thought?
She did. Didn't you? Ma'am, did I?
No, I just think that I still want to ask him one question. I think he's being paid by the city, he's employed by the city, he ought to be willing. That's the problem. I can't reconcile. I just simply cannot reconcile his not wanting to come and just simply share with the council the direction that he's going.
You sound like the principal that won't meet with the
Yeah.
There may be issues that are personnel matters as far as the school board goes, that you would not be at liberty to discuss.
I understand that. Point taken. I'm saying if I wanted to say to Gino, for example, if he was the superintendent, imagine that. Kodak moment. Gino, what direction are you going to be going? What is the scope? I simply asked for the scope and a timeline on this evaluation process or investigation that he's going to do. Had he provided that, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't be, on this train because I need to know where he's going. If he's going to do little of nothing, then we have a job to do because we need answers. If the scope of this investigation is going to take care of some of the questions we have, there's no point in us duplicating the process. That's my only point. So maybe, Mr. President, ask him one last time.
And what are you investigating? I think that's what Mr. Rockwell said. There should be specific to the resolution. What, quote unquote, is it the incident that took place at Sherman Avenue, or the questions that the education report brought out? I think now that, and then put forward the question from the
It may be wise to communicate with him rather than go through this process with certain form of committee.
I'm not opposed to the process.
Yeah,
what I'm suggesting is that we give him the opportunity again to tell us the scope of the investigation. We know what his timeline is because DOE gave him a timeline. But what's the scope of it? I mean, that's simple enough. That's not divulging any personnel information. That's why I don't understand the reluctancy of him coming before this board and just answering, telling us what the scope of it is. He could have closed this door. And we would be, understanding is the best thing in the world. Folks need answers. As a legislator, I told you, I'm intolerant of that type of nonsense. Wanting to know the scope of his investigation has nothing to do with personnel.
For the record, was that he didn't want to talk about. We're not going to talk about personnel issues. So
but
I don't know if that
the scope of his evaluation would not need to deal with personnel issues. He could say, Councilwoman, I'm going to look at this guy here. I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at what happened in that meeting. I'm going to examine policy. I'm going to examine procedure. Then I would have a better understanding where I wanted to go. Right now, for lack of a better word, we're wilding.
But for the record, don't we really want to know who changed those records?
I would like to know. I'd like the scope of his investigation. If he gives it to us, just the scope, we're going to understand that he's going to get that information. And then it'll be public information.
You're right. Thank you.
That's my only point.
And who changed his records and who knew who changed his records? Yeah? That's all I want to know. And then I want to know what you're going to do.
The scope of his investigation will tell us where he's going to go, what avenue he's going to travel. And then we'll know. Yeah, we'll know.
I just want something specific.
If he's going to get to the meat of the process.
Input from our colleagues, I welcome it.
Would you ask the question?
Question.
Ask the question.
The question. I want to make sure I'm understanding what you're saying.
Will he provide us with the scope of the investigation?
We don't.
Well, he was advised not to. So we're going to go through all of this, which everybody in the world knows we're interested in, and we want answers. We're going to go through all of this for him to lawyer up on me down here and say he refuses to answer on the grounds that it might be what? Can't incriminate him. He wasn't here. But that's what's gonna happen. He's gonna come in here, subpoena, because we can't force him to testify. We only have the power to subpoena him to this table. Once he gets here, Mr. Lapa, and he lawyers up on me, then what?
Let's proceed. We may get a pleasant surprise. You never know.
Well, let's start with asking him the question. What's the scope of his investigation? If he refuses, then keep going.
Yes, Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
What I did stated to Mr. Lopez that
Excuse me one second. Mr. Go ahead, ladies and gentlemen. Jim, one second. One second, guys, please. Let's make sure that everyone is heard, okay? Let's make sure everyone is heard. Anyone's listening. Go ahead, man.
I specifically told Mr. Lofton that now, even though he had nothing to do with what transpired, but he was sitting in a place now that he can start and correct, or try to correct what we have at hand right now. I asked him that right here. So he's in position now, to answer some of these questions that we wanted to know about. And I don't think any law or procedure will stop us just from knowing, because we're talking about public issues here, public records. Everybody knows this about 40 students that are in jeopardy right now and not graduating, things like that. Well, we're going to go to the point where we have to know who was at fault in doing what and not doing what. And it has to, somebody did it, so we want to know. That's simple as that, black and white.
And my only position was we had that opportunity to let that mercy go down. That was the strongest thing we had to force him, or not force him, that's a bad word. I'm thinking about my kids.
Thank you.
That was the biggest piece that you had to direct anything. Because he's going to get here on a subpoena and lawyer up.
So
What are you going to accomplish? All right, here. We want to do an investigation for the sake of doing an investigation. To prove that we're interested, let's move forward. Forgive me. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. Look, I am one of the fierce fighters for this matter. And I'm going to say it one more time, and I'm going to go on the record by saying that when I say it's sitting right here 3 years ago, that if we got rid of Dr. Light and all of those flunkies, we will not have this problem right now. And I will repeat it again. Now, however, though, you got to be fair to the process. This individual, Mr. Lofton, you cannot load up on him just like that. You got to be fair to the process. He wasn't here. There was another 1 in 12 individuals that are guilty for what happened. Those are the people that we have to have here and make them pay for what they did. Now, Mr. Lofton now, yes, he is in the hot seat right now, very hot seat, burning almost to hell. That now he can actually go ahead and proceed to correct all of those ugly actions that happened. However, though, if we're going to police this or do whatever, we have to use a fair process. I'm all for doing what we got to do. Let's fight down the guilty party. Let's make this kid, somehow to make find a comfort zone for them, which I don't know whether we find one or not. However, though, you got to be, I think that Mr. Rotera is going for this fine procedure. In doing so, we've been, oriented by the council, and let's do the right thing and do what we got to do. But also, the budget, yes, is true. We have the opportunity to stop it, but do we stop the process of who's going to suffer at the end of the day?
They're already suffering. You already have
the
process.
Oh, I know, but you continue. You can hold the process.
Hey, listen,
but anyway, I said what I have to say.
But I'm telling you, the guy's going to get here and lawyer up. He's going to spend money, time, and energy to prove your point.
And that may be
I'm looking for results.
And that may be so. And I will tell you, in my heart of hearts, as he said at that table with the full ass, he knows everything. He knows everything at this point, or he certainly knows enough that it will not come out until he reports back to DOE, specifically with his cap money. And at that point in time, he will tell you who, what, where he's found his deficiencies at, and who's definitely to blame. And obviously, there's some blame to go around, I mean, indicative of what we read in the paper today.
Mr. President, there was others that who had institutional memory who knows everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He stopped short of almost telling me. He paused. I mean, you heard me asking the questions. You can tell me you have a system in place that you can't identify an administrator who in fact was changing grades. That's utterly ridiculous. I don't care if you're working on a new system or old system. I mean, you know
Did they change grades or did they add grades?
Add grades, change grades, messing with the person's transcript. You're going to make me say bad words.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Can we move on?
We sure can.
Well, I mean, you brought the discussion up. I mean, I want to make sure that we all get out.
I'm sorry, President Wiley, what I meant to state was Mr. Locke, with the members of council, with the council, and other members of council from Congress, they have anything or suggestions or recommendations. Make sense?
And meanwhile, at this request I do, I will send a letter to the superintendent, specifically share with us the scope, or you leave us no choice as we proceed with our ability to form a special committee and to submit those answers to the best of our ability, too.
Can I ask one other question? Mr. Lockwood, once we form this investigative committee, because the superintendent, let's just say hypothetically he doesn't respond, and his position remains the same. Once we form the committee to investigate, see, this is unlike forming the committee to investigate one of our department heads, okay, where we do have some authority. So this is, we're forming for an autonomous board, this investigative committee, which is, a good thing to do. It's not a bad thing to do. I agree with it. But I just want you to be right above board and tell me, once I get him here, if he gives me the same answer, what's my option?
Well, depending on the specific question, I think I said earlier, there are probably a lot of questions that you may ask that he will not answer, will not be in a position to answer, and he will legally justified in not answering these questions. And just an example might be some specific personnel matter that is under consideration right now might be involved in where you're trying to go. However, as part of the confidentiality provisions that exist on that side, as they would exist here, he would not be in a position to get into specifics.
What if he comes here and decides that he's going to keep the position he had once he's subpoenaed? What legal options?
Well, I think the questions were more general, and I think now you need to have...
He wouldn't answer the scope of the investigation. Just simply the scope. So if he comes here and I ask that question again, what is the scope of your investigation? And he refuses to answer it until he compiles his own investigation.
Well, I think his first answer to that would be a very general answer. Would be, I intend to investigate the activities that occurred here that resulted in some grades being added or changed, things like that. And then it's going to be, the ball is going to be back in your court to ask specific questions with regard to that you may or may not be in a position to answer. But until it develops and evolves,
listen, the scope of an investigation is not that complicated. It's not. It's really not.
Councilman, may I interject something? The superintendent made a statement at the special board meeting about 2 weeks ago that what he wants to do is rebuild the public trust. So this would put him in position to start rebuilding the public trust. Does he sincerely mean that? So I think he would come forth, and I think he would try to be forthright. Hopefully he would try to be forthright. He wants to build this public trust. Right now, there's no public trust in our public educational system. And it's on his watch. Even though this not happening, it did not happen occur on his watch, it's on his watch now. So it's up to him now to carry the ball, so to speak.
Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Yes, sir, Ms. Scott.
The primer I got from the administration.
The what?
The primer.
Primer.
How to be a good councilman.
Oh, okay.
I believe it said that everything council does, it can undo in terms of resolutions. Is that right, Mr. Law? We can pass a resolution to anyone and
Yes.
negate that.
Yes.
And council, if you're still concerned about leverage, make that motion to rescind that resolution and give them the budget money.
Motion on the table to
that would give you
rescind the
some leverage.
budget for the Trenton school estimates.
I just
Rescind
want
it.
clarification, that's for
You want it, you got it.
for
I voted no.
2008 and 2009 and not this year? Correct.
Okay, I second that motion.
Okay, specifically, I think you have to, does anyone have a copy of that resolution?
I don't, no, we pass it.
You need to know exactly what that resolution did. This is what I'm attempt to do. It may be water over the dam at this point,
Yeah, because the money's probably already spent.
the certification,
Spending money.
there was a certification that came from the Board of School Estimates, just saying that yes, these funds are in fact necessary to run the school district.
I understand that they're necessary. I don't negate that. I'm just telling you, that's where your real
Sangerberg, you sent the check in. Is it in the mail to
opportunity
you,
is.
Sangerberg?
Missed.
Is it in the mail, the check?
SBA 4F form, basically, and I believe that the clerk signs off on that. SBA 4F, okay.
They spent it to pay Lytle's pension.
All right, any other questions, comments? Let's go to the- I think that's the thing that this.
Second that motion. You made the motion, on the floor.
There's a motion on the floor to rescind, what's the number?
No, the money's already there, so what you gonna do?
Listen, I'm with you, I want to rescind. Do what we gotta do to get the investigation done and find out what happened.
Yeah, that's true, so motion.
Rescind the motion for the money that's already spent.
I just need to clarify one thing I said. I mean, obviously, if you approve a resolution to authorize a contract, and the contract gets signed.
Bless you.
I mean, you can't go back and undo that resolution.
2007, 2008.
I'm not talking about the budget again. If we approve a resolution to buy a car, and you get your car delivered, and we have the car, we can rescind that resolution.
We did that one already. We did that one already.
Best example.
Now we're waiting on the Toyota Prius.
Mr. President, then I stand. Ask the question, if he refuses, we just continue to move forward. Because there would be a resolution we could pull back if we needed to. So I second the motion on that resolution from Mr. Lefebvre.
Well, you don't have a resolution.
Now we're waiting for Thursday, Mr. Lockman is going to clarify.
It's going to add to it, actually.
Okay.
Pursuant to.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, with the portion of the meeting Zoom reserved for the public. Motion to one public comment? All right, you can start on my left, please. To right, we just go right down the road. Please state your name and address for the record. So I can get it all. For the record. Yes, sir?
You gonna let them have it?
Excuse me, yes.
Donald Grove, 104 I'd like to start off on a light note. On Friday evening, I was absolutely delighted to attend Women in Jazz that was presented by the TVA downtown. It was one of the most exciting venues and events that I have ever attended here in the city. I had a really bad week after sitting through this concert with these wonderful performers. I floated home. And I'm not saying this is just me, hilarious. I'd say it even but kudos. They were great. Kudos to the staff at TVA for a very fine job at helping to make Trenton a destination, an entertainment destination. Just a couple of other brief things. I have forwarded on to the administration 3 prospective volunteers for the library board. I have CC'd council people at large because I didn't have everyone else's email addresses. I do have some other volunteers, and I'm working furiously on the school board volunteers.
Thank you, sir.
And I will continue to keep everyone posted about those positions. I have 2 other very brief things. The way that we collect taxes in this town, I think, needs some freshening up. For the, I guess we're in the 3rd quarter now, if taxes are not paid by the 10th, they cannot be paid by personal check. I had a very bad experience yesterday and today. I pay a very large sum of taxes, so I do it in person. I went to the tax office. I discovered that they would not accept my personal check, and I guarantee that the money is good. So I had to leave. Me that she couldn't, and there was no one online with me. I was the only person online. Because she was there by herself, and I had 5 tax bills to pay, she told me that she could not accept my payment because there were more than 2. I requested more than two properties I was paying on with one check. With one check, I requested my check and my stubs back, and I went directly to the tax collector. He did it in 3 seconds. Why should the tax collector do something that a cashier refuses to do? And I'll be very honest with you, and I will give you this individual's name privately, off the record.
Give it to Jane.
But I will. I have had difficulty with this cashier before. This is a cashier who, when you go to the desk, go to the window to pay her, she's engaged in a conversation, and I don't think she breathes between her conversations. She will not even acknowledge you by looking at you. She doesn't say hello. She doesn't say thank you when she takes your money. She doesn't even break or look at you. And I've had this experience with her before. Now, Ed Kirkendall was made aware of who this person was, and I don't know what was done, but I feel that it needs to go further because this woman needs to realize that the person on the other side of the glass is keeping her in food and manicures. So, it's these types, and these are the people that the people of Trenton see. It's not all the people behind the, behind the glass walls. These are the people that, this is the face of the administration, and something needs to be done about this. Okay?
Mr. Roque, let me assure you that that's not the face of every employee.
I know.
I know some of you sat here and mentioned by name specifically.
And that's not what I'm saying.
I think you share that with Ms. Feigenbaum. That can be readily addressed.
Okay. One other thing, and again, this will be very brief. With regard to city-owned properties that are going to be sold, whether they be sold directly to developers or sold at auction, I feel that the administration should really look at people who live in the city who are interested in buying city-owned properties to restore and live in themselves. Many times at auction, and especially within the past 2 years, city residents cannot compete with developers who have deep pockets who are bidding for these properties. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of developers go into these auctions not even looking at these properties. And with the amount of properties that don't close, I would really question how many of them even get inside of these properties to look, because they end up not doing something with some of the worst of them because they haven't. But I feel that something should be put in place where individuals who are interested should get first preference for home ownership. Granted, they would need to be able to prove that they had the funds available to restore the properties, but I think that they should be given first preference for some of these properties as opposed to out-of-town developers who are going to make money off of these properties. And I truly feel that that's something that should be addressed. And I, for one, know of a young man in the South Ward who is very close to someone in this room that is interested in doing that. I urged him to speak with his council person as well as the administration to see if something could be done, because this is an individual who should be given first right of refusal on a city-owned property. And that is my feeling.
Now, this council asked that question, and prior councilman asked that same exact question can city, I know Ms. Like specifically, they can't, but can city residents at first give or tax or whatever on top without have first opportunity to obtain a public property, city-owned property. I know the only other thing that we've been told with regards to disposition of public property, which is is that state law?
Disposition of public property is governed by state law.
Governed by state law, without discriminating, and that was the only other issue that it had to go in front and be disposed of in a public auction and or impact and development. And then the only other option, you said, off that public auction list, if it gets a public auction more than twice, then it could be individually negotiated with any buyer.
Right. A property, if it does not sell after 2 auctions, then it can be sold directly in a similar fashion as property that's in a redevelopment area.
So the question, I know this is probably, this is pretty ignorant, but obviously, if we did anything other, if we offered city property to city residents, we would be going against the state law. And if we won't, and if we're not, then I would suggest to look at Johnson to that extent.
Then, may I ask
Frankly, it's a far more complicated issue than that. I mean, if you're talking about some sort of a homesteading program, one that's been tried here and elsewhere, and if you think that some properties don't sell as a result of an auction, I would bet you that 90% of the properties sold through a homesteading program won't ever sell. Some of the very same properties that we've auctioned off in the last few years are properties that are part of homesteading programs here in the city.
Qualified individuals who made the purchases?
Isn't qualified. The
problem is qualified individuals who have the money to develop the property, to put it back on the tax.
The problem is that you can't get to the point with most people, whether they have the money to be able to put $150,000 into a house or have the access to the loans.
Isn't that generally, I'm sorry, we get into another discussion, but isn't that generally part of our disposition agreements in general?
Excuse me?
Isn't that generally a part of our disposition agreement, that you have X, Y, and Z in place before public property is transferred? One has the ability to have financing and plans, and so why couldn't you do that on an individual basis in John Q. Public?
But you're asking if I can say that John Q. Public and that John Q. Public gets to have preference over other John Q. Publics.
Okay.
That's what you're saying.
So saying more than one.
And what I'm saying is that generally developing one house at a time like that is incredibly labor intensive and not likely to succeed.
I don't want to say not succeed,
but then why would property or any property be offered to John Q. developer through Trenton City Home, bypassing the process?
I
never bypass any process.
I hear you, and we just heard your side. We didn't do no investigation of that, but if you can share some information with us at a later date with regards to
I don't know what process we're talking about. We never bypass any lawful process. Ever.
Well, I don't think he was. I'm hoping that he wasn't talking about us. He was talking about a developer in Trenton City Home specifically.
I don't know what he was talking about.
I know what he's talking about. We'll come back. Mr. Allen. Ms. Larry, please state your name and title for the record.
Tanisha Nashler, Executive Director, Trenton Downtown Association, 23 East State Street. I was actually going to end with the Women in Jazz, but since Donald brought it up, it was an incredible success. We had over 500 people. If you didn't attend, and actually I brought enough for both the council and the business administration department here of our
Who were there?
I know you were there. I heard that you were there with Captain Messina. So commenting, he was at our board meeting this morning. But we had 15, yes, he did tell us.
Yeah, right?
We had over 15 female artists, over 20 actually, if you count the folks that we had on the street, and 4 venues. Our venues were Gallery 125, which is our art gallery, Cafe Olay across the street, the Marriott, as well as the Masonic Temple. Just give you sort of a little couple facts. Over 500 people attended the event. It was so incredible. We still are doing our evaluation from an economic impact standpoint to put some indicators. From my understanding, there were 27 cars that exited the Liberty Commons lot at 11 o'clock, which now has extended hours, and when I time that, I hear they usually have 0 cars. That the Marriott bar was so overcrowded that they didn't close until after 2 o'clock, that the in terms of receipts, Cafe Olay had $300 more spent there than usual, Checkers $200 more, the Gift Gallery $300 more. Steady Marcello had over 70 reservations plus 30 parties that walked in. So from an impact standpoint, I think the thing that was great to see is that people were not just concentrated in one area. There were people who actually came to Women in Jazz that I teased because I didn't actually ever see them walk into a venue to hear music. They hung out at the Marriott bar. They went and ate dinner at Steady Marcello, but that was perfectly fine. In terms of the comments that we got, one of our sponsors was Senior Environmental Consulting from Yardley, PA, that said the event exceeded all of my expectations. The venues were great, the music exceptional, the volunteers energized, and the audiences were diverse, numerous, enthusiastic. Another attendee said, I didn't know that this area was so beautiful. Another one said, so this is where the War Memorial is. And another one said, this is the best jazz festival I've been to in 20 years because of the quality of the music, interesting audience, young and old, and it was in Trenton. Captain Messina, as I mentioned, and really the whole purpose of talking about this is not only to sort of talk about how great the event was, but also to thank the city of Trenton, which provided some police presence. I understand there was a little bit of overtime that was involved in that. There were absolutely no incidents, not that we expected there to be. But when we evaluated the number of people who submitted to be on the mailing list for a chance to win a CD, we had about 20% of the attendees did that. And the interesting thing was that about 50-50 in terms of the number of Trenton residents as well as the number of people from out of town who came into the city. And in looking at the zip codes, which I kind of briefly did, we had people from PA. We had one really anomaly. I think they must have been visiting somebody from my hometown, White Plains, New York. But we also had, well, they had been visiting somebody. But it was a great, great event. And Captain Messina this morning said he has not seen that many people outside, downtown, on a Friday evening in 40 years. So I wasn't here 40 years ago, so I can't speak to that. But I do want to thank the city for its support and thank everybody that attended. I did see quite a few people out there. So thanks on that. I have another thanks, but Lenny is gone. I was teasing him saying I'm here to talk about you, but it's actually to compliment him. We have, so I don't know why he left because, you know, it was actually a compliment. The second great news is that Foot Locker has opened their store. They opened over the weekend. You know, we've been working with Foot Locker since December, and in other markets, big deal. Foot Locker opened, and another national retail chain opened. Well, it is a big deal because Foot Locker is typically a first mover in an inner city marketplace. And so typically when you see somebody like Foot Locker, which is a little bit more adventurous in their site location because they basically just see green and they saw green when they came to that corner, we work with Foot Locker on everything from inspections, from, as I was telling Dennis last week, from UEZ to hiring, all aspects, and it's great.
Every location,
it's at 31 East State Street. Every single employee there is a city resident, from the manager down to the rest. And the thing that's great is that the reason that you want to have national retailers in a city like Trenton is, and you want to have a mix, is because typically most of the locally owned businesses employ their own family. But if you have a national retailer, they're going to employ city residents. And most of these people would have had to either drive out to Oxford Valley or go out to Quaker Bridge. I think the only sad thing in all of this is, you know, I'm talking to them, very excited. I go talk to the manager, and again, we've been dealing with, from Fisher Development, who was their project manager, to Foot Locker Corporate. I've been speaking to the head of their foundation, saying, you don't understand, this is a big deal. When I went and talked to the manager over the weekend, we also provided them a facade improvement grant. The facade is not complete. If you go there and you see just Foot Locker, no, there's more coming. There's an awning coming, and there's a new gate that TDA has provided them a grant for. And I'm talking to the manager, LaToya Green, who's from East Trenton. And I said, you know, I'm so excited about this. And she, you know, I'm telling her stuff. And I said, well, what did you think? Did you know that they were in the process of doing it? She said, oh, yeah. I said, well, I'm so excited. I said, well, how many of you are Trenton residents? Because I've been trying to beat everybody up. How many of you are Trenton residents? And she said 7. I said, what's the total employees here? So I've been really talking to her. She said 7. So 100%. And she said yes, because
even from the managers, no other manager wanted to manage this Foot Locker because they were afraid to manage a Foot Locker in Trenton. So that's only sad news. The good news is LaToya was fine with it because she used to do the one out on Nassau Street in Princeton. So none of this could have happened in the timeline that it did if it not been for the Department of Inspection. We were contacting Lenny and Monifa very correctly, and they were great. And they worked with us every step of the way. We told them they had a very aggressive timeline when we first spoke to them in December. And they're 2 weeks off, but that's not bad in this world. So what we're looking to do is to refine this process so that as other retailers want to enter the marketplace, especially national retailers that work on a very sort of tight schedule, that we continue to do this. So that is the deal. And again, so patronize Foot Locker. The awning comes out. We hope to do a ribbon cutting with the mayor in a couple of weeks. And that's the good news. Good news.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to go first.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, 137 Center Street.
Your name, please?
Harris Paul, first name Paul. My first council meeting, I think, was the 2nd or the 3rd of March. Maybe it was the 5th. And I noticed on the resolutions, there was a resolution honoring one of the pastors, a new pastor who had not been installed yet. I forget his name. Yeah, but he hadn't done anything yet, and you were honoring him. I said it to say this, that Beverly Johnson, and her, I'm not sure what the full story, I'm not sure who knows the full story, but I would ask the council, Beverly Jones, my apologies, from Trenton Public Schools, and the effort that she's done, and the battles that she's going through right now, and they're trying to discredit her name and different things. I think it would be appropriate for City Council to even consider passing a resolution, just saying, honoring her and just saying, we thank you for being courageous and speaking up for our children. We thank you for coming out and blowing the whistle, because it's in her efforts that she's done here that others will find courage to speak up. Because I think in these departments, in this building here, and everywhere, in all of our institutions, there's corruption. And I think people sit down and don't speak up because they need that job, because you got car payments, you got children, you got different things. So I think that what she's doing is she's allowing for others to say, I can speak up too. And I think that we should not shield ourselves from this, and we should say, we're going to stand behind you. Because I think that, they're going to try to force her out and do whatever they want to do. And I think we should say we stand behind this woman for speaking up. And this is an example of a strong black woman doing what she needs to do, speaking up when she needed to speak up. And it turned out to be right. And I think that that would be appropriate for council. I'd be interested in some responses on a resolution.
And another strong black woman, let me just share with you, as a woman, period. I supported Beverly in the very beginning of the process when nobody was recognized. So she had some support from folks on this council, myself in particular. I can name another few, but they have to speak for themselves. She has had support. I remember Beverly first contacting me, and once she found out that Joe had substantiated her complaint, I was one of the first calls she made. So she has had some support. Reverend Toussaint, for the record, has done many, many things. He was honored because he was being installed as the new pastor of the Friendship Baptist Church, a very active church who does loads of things in the community. Okay? That's correct.
Okay.
Mr.
Yes.
Yes, what you do?
Mr. Harris, you're right. I was going to comment on that later on. As a matter of fact, now that you brought it up, I was going to say that I oppose somebody that has the courage of Mrs. Jones. She didn't do nothing, absolutely nothing wrong. I do not know how her personal approach was. I was not familiar with it. I was not aware either that she was being suspended. I'm not sure that she was suspended without or with pay. Without pay?
Yes, without.
If she was suspended without pay, it's absolute, totally unjust serve on her. And what she did was the right thing. I agree 100%. I did not have any conversation with Mrs. Jones, but I know that I was right in her corner. I went to the Board of Ed many times in behalf of somebody like her. And so, but again, I must say that, I've been also familiar with that church, and I have worked with that church in many other projects throughout the community, and they do some monumental stuff. So what we got to do is, as a body, or maybe as a city, to allow people like Ms. Jones, to voice their opinion and not be punished only because she's speaking the truth. That's my view. Thank you, Mr. President.
Anyone else? Mr. Holmes?
I will just echo the comments since you asked for responses from council. I also applaud Ms. Jones on stepping forward and am fully behind her in the challenges that she faces because of it, but she did the right thing.
Yes, sir. Clark, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of City Council. My name is Dion Clark, 323 Walnut Avenue, the East Floor, the Wilbur section.
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you a little story Saturday. We talk about the Don Emeses and the so-called racist white people and all that, but I got a good one for you. Saturday morning, I'm out in front of my parents' house doing my usual thing, cleaning up, raking up, cutting the grass, those kind of things. So two young black women came by with their babies, one in a carriage and one on a little scooter. When they got in front of my parents' house, the little boy had a temper tantrum. So the people live 4 or 5 doors before you get to my parents' property. So the girl told him to get off the bike because he wouldn't act right. She's going to take the bike back to the house. Now, this is a 2-year-old child. If I'm lying, may God strike me dead right here. The little boy stood there and called his mother a bitch. And then we have the nerve to talk about the Emeses with the nappy head hoes. Or if you called me a nigger, I'm so upset. And this is a street full of black people. Okay? Instead, I turned to the girl and said, that's a disgrace that child would say something like that. The girl tells me to mind my own MF business. Before I look around, it's 25 gang members there. Now, it's me against all of them out in front of my parents' house. Now, this is the conditions, the society that we have come to. You're going to tell me that the man is wrong because he calls the girl a nappy head hoe, but it's a group of black people with a black child that stands out there in public and calls his mother a bitch. And they said, well, it's all right, Dion, that's how they talk. That ain't none of your business. But you said it in front of my parents' house. Now, that's just part of it. As the conversation goes on, it's always more to it. That was just to get it going. Say, well, Dion, you the so-and-so going downtown telling the police about the gangs. You're telling the police about the slum landlords. You're telling the police about this and that. And then they made us a direct statement. Last week, I had a meeting with the undercover police, my councilman, in the Department of Inspections. And these people knew key things that I said that wasn't supposed to be said. Now, in this administration, the police department want the people to stand up when it comes to these shootings and things. Now I see why the people don't want to do it. Because I'm one to do it all the time. When it comes to Walnut Avenue, I have no fear of nobody. It was a situation here that was all about out in the hallway, about some raggedy property that needs to be brought up to date. And if Virginia and Chick Clark over there on 323 is held accountable for their properties, everybody else is going to be held accountable. And we got some slum landlords, and we might have some right here in this room tonight. Because by what that gentleman did to me tonight, is bringing it out. The devils are going to reveal themselves. So I'm going to keep driving my point home about the slum landlords. I want them off of Walnut Avenue, and I'm not backing down no more. Anybody who wants to accuse me of anything, they don't have to go to Poochie Adi. They don't have to borrow Director Jackson, Director Allen, mess with my councilman. Dion Clark said it. I'm going to report the illegal dumping. I'm going to report the quality of life. I'm going to report any of the gang carrying on Walnut Avenue. Wasn't I the one who revealed my child to y'all? And 3 weeks later, didn't he end up getting shot? So if I don't mind revealing my child, you know I don't mind revealing anybody else. I told you the activities at Trenton High School. All that came to be the truth. So I'm just letting you know you want us decent law-abiding citizens to do the right thing. I have been doing the right thing. But don't go behind my back because people are tired of me coming to city council voicing my concerns and issue and said, we're going to get rid of that nigga. So I'm going to go tell a goon or a thug in the street. So it'll be an altercation. So Dion being sick and disabled, they might kill him. They might hurt him. He's at a disadvantage. Now I know I'm not going to put nothing past this place now, but I'm going to keep coming. I'm going to keep fighting the good fight because I'm right. I'm right about Walnut Avenue. My parents and them people deserve better. They deserve better, and we're going to get better. I noticed tonight when that little altercation started, it seemed like it had been rehearsed. But thank God this man here got this video because I can play it back. I've seen certain people's smirks and expression when me and the gentleman got up and went out in the hallway like they knew that it was going to be an altercation. But I'm step for step with you. I'm going to fight the good fight because I know what it's all about. Like there's people here right now smirking and disgusted with me because I always told you, Mr. President, that my mayor, Doug Palmer, promised me that together we will take back Wilbur section, and we have not taken it back. It is worse now than it ever has. The carrying on and the fighting, and you guys know that because the Trenton Police Department lets you know. That's what bothered me the other day when I had the meeting with my councilman in there. Well, Dion, this and that. Well, you guys are the undercover people on that. You know more about Walnut Avenue. When I'm sitting on my parents' porch, you riding up and down the street in unmarked cars smirking at me and all that, as though I'm doing something wrong. So if I can identify you, you can identify me, and you can identify those who are doing wrong. If you want us concerned, law-abiding, tax-paying citizens to do the right thing, then you guys do the right thing. When I come over here in confidence and pure heart and do the right thing and reveal things, I love Walnut Avenue. That's all I got. If I was in some of y'all position, I would be long gone from Walnut. It's about money. I don't have the means to leave. So I'm going to try to make the best of a bad situation. And everybody in this room knows it's a bad situation. It can't get no worse than a Walnut Avenue. But I know people are getting tired of me, so they just set me up for the kill. But there's a God, and I'm going to keep fighting, Mr. President. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Clark.
Yes, sir.
The only thing I will respond back
I know.
I have the slightest idea what you and someone was talking about.
Well, don't worry about it.
And I'm not asking that.
Okay, don't worry about
The
it.
only thing that was a little bit disturbing was you were disturbing proceedings with your loud voice.
And I was wrong. And I was wrong.
So with regards to people smirking and people
yes.
on you, I cannot respond, nor will I respond.
Well, will you respond about what somebody went and told this person over on Walnut Avenue?
Mr. Clark, I have the slightest idea what you're talking about.
Well, you know what I'm talking about. Because why would I come to city council? When I got out there and got those votes for you, Dee Dee, and Manny, I knew exactly what I was doing.
Yeah, you're going off.
No, I'm being real, Paul. I'm being real now. This is my life.
Let lightning strike me down. I don't know what you're talking about.
But why would you sit there and say that when you know the battle I fight every day?
I can't sit here and tell you that somebody went to somebody and told somebody to get you.
Yeah, but that's what it seems like. It seems like it's okay.
Say that.
But you didn't have to comment on that. Why didn't you comment about the police department? Why don't you comment about all the other things I'm doing?
I'm thinking that you're talking directly to this council.
Well, I hope everybody else of council have something to say too when you're done talking.
That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
If you know something that we don't know, you should tell us.
Well, I just told you, your police department is going back telling the hoods and the thugs, and I'm telling on them.
And well, I'll apply. I personally will apply. And members, I'm sure this council.
No, that's what I'd like to comment. I was in that meeting with Mr. Clark. There was only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of us
Yes,
in that
sir.
room. So one of those 5 people went back and informed individuals and placed his life in danger. That needs an internal investigation.
I don't know what we should
But see,
I don't know where you was at.
see, Mr.
It's going to be requested because that should not be.
And let me,
That's
You have
something
more
I
knowledge than anybody else.
yeah, but Mr. President, I've been very truthful and forthful with you on a personal level about my battles in Wilbur section. You know what I'm up against.
Yeah, you suggesting that all of us was in a meeting and somebody...
No, I did not. Don't hoodwink me. I didn't say that, sir. I didn't say that.
Mr. Malone just sat here and said he was one...
Yes, 5 people. It was 5 of us.
I didn't know what you were talking about. I didn't know what you were talking about. I was Mr. Malone.
Well, I was telling you. I was telling you
how to respond to something. I'm just trying to... I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
If I can find out what's going on, I will.
It's a gentleman sitting right next to me, was one of my best friends until all this stuff. I went against him about his property. Here he is. I made no secret of that. It was documented in the newspaper and everything. I mean that about Wilbur section. But don't make a lie on me. If I said it about Tony's property there, I said it. But don't say I said Tony had a dope house. Don't say I said Tony was housing gang members. I said Tony's house wasn't up to par. And I took pictures of it in that. That's what I said. See, I'm man enough to say that. But don't have the police or some administrator or somebody else behind the scene go and say, well, Dion said you had a gang house, Tony. Or you had a dope house. You had a bunch of dope dealers over there. Dion never said that because I'm no gang member and I'm no drug user or drug dealer. So I don't identify with that. I identify with filth and injustice and unfairness.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Dick?
Mr. Hart, I just want to comment on the derogatory statements and remarks. Anywhere, anytime with anybody is inappropriate. I mean, derogatory is derogatory. It doesn't matter where they come from. Just understand that, please. And some of the terms that we so loosely use are inappropriate.
Yes, ma'am.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah, but a
and
child...
I hope that you'll file a complaint as it relates to the folks that were in that room.
There's going to be a complaint.
There should be
An investigation.
Because of the public, I was the main one to endorse Joe Santiago, and I got a letter from Council President Paul Pintel thanking me for endorsing Joe Santiago. So why would I do anything? Why would they put me on the spot like that when I'm trying to do the right thing for the city and for my community?
I'm going to recommend, again, that you do exactly what I recommended
Okay.
when the police department was sharing information about people who made complaints about folks on the street. File a complaint. Use the means and the resources that you have at hand to do what you need to do to take care of them. But derogatory complaints are inappropriate.
Yes, ma'am.
And statements in any form.
Yes, ma'am.
Have you filed a complaint, or you haven't done
No, I brought it to my council people first. I went to the police department, and Detective Russo said, well, I don't know nothing about that. I don't know nothing about that. Well, somebody said it. Because the woman confronted me with it, and she went in detail about it. I said, well, how would she know that?
You went to Internal Affairs and they turned you away?
No, I went over to the police station to confront Detective Russo because he was the detective there.
Okay.
But the woman who confronted me on the street knew key details about me, what me and my councilmen and certain people talked about. And that's bad.
All right, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We'll talk. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, just quickly, just wanted to comment.
Please state your name.
Tony Mack, 938 Berkeley Avenue. Wanted to talk about briefly the school situation and how the actions of the mayor does not answer the questions that surround the educational system. Removing 3 board members is not the issue. The issue is some of the things that you guys have already spoken about. So I'd like to see, make sure that those 3 board members are around when the investigations take place so that we can call them to the carpet and ask them what they knew about the situation prior to the Office of Fiscal Accountability and Compliance's investigation. I think that's important. And then secondly, I'm just mind-boggled as it relates to the same jargon about police protection and zero tolerance. I've heard zero tolerance for the last 7 or 8 years. Zero tolerance. We have upped the presence. I can give it to you verbatim. No matter what happens, we have upped the presence. Zero tolerance. A new vice squad. Listen, $7 million in overtime. The same old, same old. The existing police force cannot handle what's going on in our streets. They can't do it. They don't have the manpower to do it. They need help. There's nothing wrong with needing help. They need help. We need the state police in this town right now. 5 people shot in one night? That could have been 5 murders in one night. And guess what? Every time the zero tolerance code goes away, they come back and start shooting again. One day, it could be you, it could be me, it could be our family. It's going to hit one of these days. In the 60s, when the riots came about, state police was called in, National Guard were called in, peace was restored to this city. In the mid-70s, we had 20-something murders, state police was called in, Violence was deterred. Peace was restored in this city. Now it's time for us to call the state police in, no matter who's in charge. We need them here. My son goes to Joyce Kilman, and every day we send him there, I'm afraid for his life because some of the things that are taking place in those schools. We need a presence to deter crime, not to set up surveillance. No more surveillance. We want to prevent the crime from occurring. So I'm asking this body to please, for the safety of this entire city, please call for the state police to come in here and help us out, and I guarantee you they will. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to do it? Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record.
Patricia Stewart, 679 Lamberton Street.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, I would like to say Mr. Clark's accusation, some people might say, no, that never happened. I have to give you a war story. About 6 years ago, I had a client who lived next to the bodega on the corner of Lamberton Bridge, which was a drug supermarket for a while. And actually, she was a very good client. She was doing everything she was supposed to do. And she kept calling the police about these drug dealers. And one evening, they showed up, and they said to her, she's standing there at the open window behind the curtain, and she hears them say, look, you guys have got to move along. That lady keeps calling us, and we're tired of it. The next day, her daughter, who went to Sacred Heart School, is on her way out, and somebody steps up in front of the kid and says, we know who your mother is, and if she doesn't shut her mouth, we're going to do you. That's when she called me hysterical. So, yes, the police do shoot their mouths off. They shouldn't, and somebody is going to get into trouble. The thing that I'm really here to rant and rave about is the problem with the school district. What Councilwoman Lartigue said, by the way, about Mr. Lofton lawyering up and this hiding behind personnel matters, I don't know what he can hide behind. We know Mrs. Dawson has been suspended. You're not asking whether she's got a pension loan. You just want to know what's going on. So don't tell me personnel. That's nonsense. And it's about time somebody says, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? My problem is, I think everybody was involved in this, but the ones I blame the most, believe it or not, are the parents. And again, I hate to do this to you, Mr. President, but I'm quite sure if you came home and said, Mom and Dad, I've got to repeat the 9th grade, and you're going to have to cough up another $8,000, your father would have been zapped up 206 to find out what was going on. I know I would have. Where were these parents? And then they swallow this nonsense. Oh, let Junior take the 9th grade over again, and then he'll go into the 11th grade. Didn't anyone say, hey, that doesn't make sense? What happened to the 10th grade? And why weren't these parents gathered together and going over to the school board? Then could Mr. Lytle come and say, oh, well, they're all hysterical parents? No, but they weren't there. Why weren't they agitating with their council people? I mean, this whole thing, where were these parents? And I really wonder, when are they going to stop expecting everyone else to take care of their kids? Last Thursday, Councilwoman Staten was at PCCA. She spoke about all the programs. I'm sorry. Yeah. Stop thinking about me. That's the vibe. I'm sorry. Councilwoman Lartigue. She's explaining all the programs available in the city. Someone pops up and says, oh, well, the kids don't have any transportation. What are we supposed to do? Drive by and pick them up? Come on, enough is enough. It's bad enough that we have to keep these kids interested and amused, so when they grow up, they think someone else has to keep them amused. And it's just simply this whole thing, where were the parents? Not that I think the school board deserves any roses or Dr. Lytle, but really, the parents are the ones who should have been yelling, screaming, and carrying on. The last thing, I have to do a public service project very shortly. and the original scheme isn't working out. If some of these kids need tutoring for like 11th grade literature, I am more than happy to volunteer to work with these kids, get them through the 11th grade literature syllabus, hopefully it's not Hamlet, and get them ready so they can take the final. I will volunteer to help these kids, and hopefully that would be my public service issue. But certainly, Councilwoman Ortiz is right. Lofton can't dance around the issue. He's asked the question, he's got to answer it. He's a city employee. He's not answering questions. That means he doesn't know. And maybe it's time to say, gee, Rodney, it's been good to know you. Bye, and get somebody else. Okay, I'm sort of, my blood pressure's high enough. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm giving you a break today.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Zachary Chester, 1405 Stuyvesant Avenue. I actually came for one reason, but in looking at, just for the record, I want to state that 5ATR is the city is deciding not to renew their contract with Capital Health System.
Well, that was not said for the record. I answered that question.
That was not said. It was called Corporate Health. It's Capital Health System.
I'm sorry, I apologize. It's not that we're deciding not to renew.
You just point out
That I want council to know that that's Capital Health System.
Oh, okay.
The other main reason why I'm here this evening is that I'm very disappointed in what I read in the paper this past weekend in reference to the town center project. That a cabinet level position person, Mr. Gonzalez, hung up on a report. I think that's inappropriate to get a phone call from New York. A friend of mine called me about this article. It's embarrassing to this city. No matter what the issue is, if a city employee is not in a position to give an answer, they need to refer that person to the communications department. Hanging up on a reporter and having it in the paper is embarrassing to this city. And I'm sick and tired of being embarrassed. I really am. So, I have drafted a letter, which I want to read to council. And since Ms. Jones has set precedents, I'm going to CC to the mayor and all the council and everyone, but I want to read this letter, and I would like to receive some answers. And the letter is addressed to Paul M. Patella, City Council President and Councilman at Large, City of Trenton, 1319 East State Street. Dear President Patella, I am very disappointed by what I read in the Trenton Times newspaper on Sunday, May 13th, 2007. I would like for this council to look into every redevelopment and development project that Mr. Gonzalez, Assistant Business Administrator and Acting Housing and Economic Development Director, has worked on since he has been employed with the City of Trenton. I would like to know all of the outcomes of all of the projects that he has been involved in. Mr. President, I would like to have this information in writing within 60 days. I also would like the following 10 questions answered, which addresses the Trenton Town Center project. Question number 1. When was the draft of the disposition agreement received by the City of Trenton? What steps have been taken since the draft was submitted to the City of Trenton? Who are the staff members involved in the Trenton Town Center project? What are their roles in the project? When did the city respond to the draft disposition agreement? And who responded? Who is the consultant working on this project? What is the role of the consultant on this project? How much is the City of Trenton paying for this consulting service?
What are the City of Trenton's guidelines for new development? What information was requested on the RFP? And my last question is, how are the City of Trenton guidelines different from the State of New Jersey Development Authority guidelines? Now, Mr. President, I'm asking these questions because we have had a number of projects that have been proposed, that have been talked about, and has not happened. And we've never asked the question why they don't happen. Now, I go back to when I first came back to the City of Trenton and I met Mr. Gonzalez. I met Mr. Gonzalez when he was working on the Hermitage Shopping Center. And Mr. Gonzalez was talking to the seniors, and I happened to be there, and he was talking way up here, that project. It's my understanding of the project, and Mr. Gonzalez can correct me if I'm wrong, because I broke it down. The city sold that property to a developer for $1. And in the contract that they could take the property back, the city did not take the property back when it had the chance. The city sold, the developer sold the property back to the city for $1 million to do the project. If I'm wrong, please correct me. But that was the understanding of our conversation back then. So since then, I've followed the projects that Mr. Gonzalez has been a part of. We just had a new economic development person who was here for 6 months. Question I asked, well, why did he leave? A guy that worked for HUD, a guy that knows economic development. And I asked myself, why did he leave? I called Mr. Greenwald, got him on the phone. Me and Mr. Greenwald had a great conversation about the reuse of the Mercer campus. We had a meeting set up. Mr. Greenwald's office called, meeting canceled. I called Mr. Greenwald, never returned my call. I emailed Mr. Greenwald, never returned my emails. So something is wrong here. Now put politics to the side. We're talking about our city here. We're talking about those kids out there that we sit around this table and we talk about the games, the issues. Come off the politics. Whatever it is, we need to move this city forward and provide opportunities for our young folks. I'm out here running around talking to folks that we need some vocational training in this city to help employ and train the people that live here, the same people that Clark talks about, Pat talks about, the council members talk about. When are we going to get off the politics and really start looking at what is the best interest of this city? When are we going to do it, Mr. President? When can Capitol Health meet with you? Ms. Staten, Mr. Seguri, Dennis, Ms. Alarti, we've been meeting with. Mr. Costin, we're meeting with. Mr. Bethea, where is council on this issue of the redevelopment of the Mercer? The state has ruled the hospital is leaving. So when are we going to have a conversation? When is economic development, whoever, going to have the conversation? When is the town center going to move forward? It's been a year that you received a draft. It's been a year. No matter what the problem is, I just think that if a newspaper calls, that's a way to inform the residents that the project is moving forward, or we're doing this, we're doing that. But to just go click, I'm looking at this stuff. We got a gentleman here fighting to renovate houses. When are we going to stop this politics?
When are we going to stop? At what point is the council going to start asking questions of the administration? Why is it this? Maybe you guys know, but when are you going to let the public know? Because what I hear out there, and each one of you know, I'm out there. I'm talking to people. My uncle was here. He left this morning. Haven't been here in 25 years. He went to Walnut Avenue. My grandfather had a house on Walnut Avenue. And my 59-year-old uncle went back to Walnut Avenue to see his own house and called me on the phone asking me what happened to Wilbur section. And I told him, get in your car and leave. Because you're from Texas now. You're not from Trenton anymore. You're from Texas. You don't know what's going on here. So again, I was embarrassed. He took yesterday's paper.
Yeah, you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Just say that at home.
He took yesterday's paper home with him because he just could not believe the Trentonian he took home with him because he just could not believe the state of this city. He said the people he talked to are scared living in this city. And I think economic development is the way we need to go. If this project is going to create jobs, opportunities for people, if the Mercer campus is going to provide opportunities for training, for employment, if the Hopewell site is going to provide opportunities for Trenton people, it would think this council would get behind that. And say, let's train these people, let's get them jobs.
Mr. President. You finished your letter there? Is that a letter?
This is a letter. The Lord is my witness, I'm going to be here every Tuesday,
That's right.
Thursday, until this council moves. Until the mayor moves. Because we're talking about people's lives. Paul and I live in Hilltonia. It's only a matter of time before it comes to Hilltonia, Paul. The mayor lives in Hilltonia. Not to say that it's not already there. We got a problem across the street. But I feel for the Wilbur section. It didn't hit home until my uncle called me. But we have to do something. I'll be here on Thursday. I'll be here on Tuesday. I'll be here on next Thursday. Well, when I check the website, and you guys are here, I'll be
Mr. Chester? Thank you for your letter and some of the information, but I want you to clear up a few things.
Excuse me one second. And then the same way I was trying to get Mr. T to respect your conversation, I need you to do the same thing, okay? And then my apologies, please continue, please. Thank you.
I need you to clear up a few things. First of all, from your letter and conversation, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, you haven't gotten any support from this council?
No, I'm not saying I haven't gotten any support.
I want you to clear that up.
What I'm saying is, I would like for the council, because I've met with you, I've been in communication with you, but it's going to take the entire council to bond together and let's move the city forward. That's what I'm saying.
Take care.
I can't do it by myself. You can't do it by yourself. You're only one vote.
That's true. Let me share something else with you. You're right. You're 100% right. Let me share something else with you. This council is designed so that each part of the city is represented. And as I represent the West Ward, I bring back the issues that are pertinent to the West Ward, and I deal with them accordingly. You and I know that you've made some tremendous progress as a result of some of that. But I believe emphatically that when you work with the ward council person, you get the information, the respect, and the answers that you need. You always have, and you always will. You raised some very valid points. The fact that you're working and have been in conversation with Mr. Costin from the South Ward is a good thing. But he doesn't represent the West Ward. He represents the South Ward. But there are many things going on and many opportunities for him to engage. I would appreciate, again, the opportunity to engage, to assist you, and to continue to move along, not just that project, but any other issue that you have standing. Until you mentioned it tonight, I never knew you had conversation with anybody regarding the West Ward. I'm very, very territorial because as an elected official, I want all the support I can get from my council members, but I'm available. And we've done some phenomenal things. I don't want to negate this at this table under any circumstance. You can talk to Mr. Costin all you want, you can talk to Gino, you can talk to him, you can talk to him, you can talk to whoever, but I was elected to serve and work for the people in the West Ward, and I want that opportunity. Okay? So anything that I can do to assist you further, you tell me, and together we can get that done. Okay? Whatever it is, whatever you think you need, wherever you think you need to go. Now when you have issues germane to the South Ward, you go to him, and I'm going to stay in the West Ward until he comes to me for my help. Same thing goes for him. I think we have enough to do in our respective wards that we need to handle our business there. And I want the opportunity to do that with you, to continue to do it. So, I'm very passionate about the work that I do. I'm very passionate about partnership at this table and in the community. So I'm looking for all I can get here and there. But the opportunity should begin here. Okay? I just wanted to share it with you. Thank you. Security, give me a key, please.
Anyone else from this council? Oh, you want to Mrs. Brewer? I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to respond to this, Mr. Chester comments. I think that you're right, the comments in working together, there's no question about it. There's nothing in this city that we can do alone, not one single person. And it goes from administration to council, to leasing, and all the departments that actually work for the council, for the administration. Now, it is like the councilwoman said, each ward has its own representative. There's not one council person here. I think at this stage that I will not work with it. The only time I move to do something is when that council person might not be available for whatever reason. Then I move to do certain things alone, but not unless I get the approval and working together with those council people. Now you see me throughout the whole city and outside the city, supporting any effort, that has to do, especially, with kids right now. Now, I am available, seriously, as my wife is involved in many things as well as the city also. She has invited me to do things which are great efforts, also for the city, for the city. So, anything I know that, the passing was just to get together and all that stuff. You and I have worked, even when you work as a legislator, assistant from the Bush Home. And we did some stuff out there. So I don't know, I offer you my aid, my help, whenever that is, for the best benefit of the city of Trenton. And I want to applaud you, for your effort. You want to be here, and stay here, so you help me. That's the best way to move the city forward. So
thing, yes, sir.
Mr. President, what I'd like to ask Mr. Gonzalez to do, perhaps schedule a workshop in this status report, the situation, council as a whole. Being in public life for a number of years, I realize what you always read in the newspaper may not be accurate, and I like to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I don't get my exercise anyway, so I surely not going to get about different conclusions. So I'd like for you to set a date with the president.
It would be wise to wait until sometime in mid to late June.
I'm sorry, sir?
I said it would be wise to wait until mid to late June.
Okay, well, you can work out the schedule.
We'll work out.
That's the only thing I add. I mean, so you guys can sit there and work out the schedule. But then what can happen, then the public can come out, and especially people from that area who are concerned, and then they can get some idea of where we are.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Higgins. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Elizabeth Hernandez. This is my daughter, Jacqueline Alonzo.
Okay, your address, please, for the record.
459 Montgomery King Boulevard.
450.
469.
Ms. Hernandez, yes, ma'am.
She asked where was the parent. Well, I'm one of the parents.
Yes, ma'am.
And I know my English is not that great, so
Your English is perfectly fine, trust me. It's our English is not that good sometimes.
I did went to school a lot of times to express my feelings. Especially, we moved from Morrisville to Trenton on the year of service. And my daughter is an honor roll student. And we asked the school, when she went to Trenton Central High School,
Take your time. You're not in a hurry. Take your time.
They moved her to Sherman when the school opened. They never told us she was left back because she didn't have that grades or nothing. And like I said, she was honor roll. They told us it was because of the schools opening and because she missed, she had in Morrisville physical education, but since we moved to Trenton, she didn't finish it, and she had to do the summer school on the Trenton.
Physical education.
Yes, in order because he was already too late for her. We moved like in January, so there was not time for her to get it in Trenton High School to get it over summer. But they told us she was from the 10th grade. We never was aware of the 9th grade. And another thing is that last year, my daughter saw in her transcript that they gave her 12th grade literature. And she complained to me, and she went to her counselor, and he told her she did have 11th grade, because that's what she asked. He told him, I never had 11th grade, well, I'm getting 12th grade. And he insisted she did have 11th grade, but she said she's not a little girl, so she knew what she was talking about. She went again to him, and I guess he was tired of her complaining, did not want to see her no more, so she came to me to go to him. We went, both of us together, and he insisted that she had 11th grade. It was right in the transcript. And my daughter said, yeah, it's there, but I never took it. And he is saying that she took it in Sherman, but she wasn't aware of it, but she did took it. And he gave her 12th grade literature. Well, she was not happy with it, and he said he couldn't change her schedule, because she was asking for other classes, not that one, the 12th grade literature. He couldn't change her schedule, and they could do it because that's how they had the transcript, and it shows that she had it. And I asked him, is this going to affect her grade or her graduation when this comes next year? He said no, because it's all right here. And this is happening now to her. And I go to school all the time, and they give me the runaround, and not only the runaround, like I asked for a letter from the vice principal, and she said in the parents' meeting that they had, that she was going to give it to me, she was going to sign it, letting me know that if my daughter, she only has one course to take. If she does it, she's going to have a diploma. But then the letter did not say that when I went the next day, and she wasn't available to talk to me about it. So I went yesterday, and she didn't want to see me. She didn't say that, but she said somebody else, and I told them, well, I need her to, I'm going to leave the letter, and she needs to change it, and my daughter will get a diploma. And they said, if she passed the course, I said, she will, because I know my daughter. And she said, I know she will pass it, which they wanted her to do it in the internet. We don't have a computer. We don't have internet. And I say that to them. It's hard to be in the library 30 minutes only that they give you because other student wants to use the computer too. It's not just for her. And then she said, well, she could use the school on daytime. Maybe get out of school 6 o'clock and everything. And every time I go to school, they do the same thing. They send somebody out, and then she said, no, nobody wants to see her. So I just wanted to let her know that I am a parent, and I've been there for my daughter.
I didn't, madam, I didn't say you were not.
Mr.
I'm sorry, Mr.
Mr.
President. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Miller, have Mr.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, Mr. Miller. Is that it?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Well, can I see you after?
Full disclosure, we can talk about this. Jackie, you already accepted college? For the fall? So she's an achiever. She's already accepted for college, got her graduation gown. We're talking about 126 kids and 55 kids. Here's the face of it right here. This is what we're talking about. And I don't say that to say that English is taking this lightly. But it's one thing, I'll be honest, it struck me much greater when I talked to them when they brought this along. It's not a kid, it's a kid I know. In terms of what some of these folks have done and the fraud that they've reported, not just on the city, but on that. I appreciate you guys sitting this around and so on today.
And the question, Mr. Stephan respond back to you, but this specifically to Mr. Nunez, what we're trying to achieve in terms of meeting with certain people is who, what, and when. And now, what measure is going to be taken in regards to some disciplinary type of action or termination and or charges. That's what we're looking at in terms of resolving. I feel if I had a child who was ready to graduate, knew that she was given credit for courses that she did not take, I don't know, I might have pulled her out, or I might have went to set up camp in front of that door to get in, because I don't know where this policy comes from that administrators will have to meet with parents and or teachers, or at least be selected basis. That makes no sense. That totally makes no sense. I can't even fathom that that's a policy, or a choice that administrators can make when this is what their end product is. A child, educating a child and sending a child on the tools to better themselves in life. And now we're caught up in a dilemma where a young lady can't graduate. That makes no sense at all. Makes no sense at all. We're going to get some answers, and we're going to do our best to get some answers for you.
Okay, and I just want to tell you, it's not like when they were giving the credit to people, my daughter was taking it. We went over this problem, and they ignored us. They're the one who kept telling us that we were wrong about the 11th grade literature, because it was some distracted. And we had no idea this was going on.
So you tried to resolve it early.
That year. And you would be on time. They would have listened to us.
Did you get information from her with regard to who worked? Okay. You should share that with superintendent. God bless you. Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? Seeing no other hands, motion in order for public comment? Okay. Civic matters. New statement?
Mr. President, just a few things that actually just come from this evening. With regards to Dion, I was very interested to know that the police force their confidence with you. He has worked on that for so long. In fact, it was one of the driving points for the civilian that we needed to break the culture, that we need to foster a relationship between the police and the people they serve. I am sick of that. I am sick to know that they boost your confidence like that and put you and your family at jeopardy. I support any action to expeditiously start an investigation with the Internal Affairs Bureau. Any issue or something with that, this is what I'm available here.
Thank you.
That I would like to say much of your effort. And I too was concerned about the stall of the town center. I wasn't upset about the hang up on the reporters because I have dealt with the press before, and sometimes that's all you can do is hang up on them. And so it happens. It happens. It certainly does happen. But I was concerned about it because we were all looking forward to the town center. It was going to bring so much value to the city, to this particular part of town. The idea of attracting businesses and revenue and employment opportunities. So that was going to be my question, to find out what was the timeline for it. I appreciate your letter. I appreciate your questions, and I'm sure that Mr. Quintel as well, administration will be able to get those questions. This is a great way to get started. You know, the answer is the way to do it. So I thank you for that. I encourage you to continue on with your questions. The other thing I want to speak to is, your name again? Hernandez. Are you aware of the meetings that the board held for students that were being affected by the Sherman Avenue? Did you go to one? You met with the council and they gave you some options? Okay. And you still have a need for a computer? Yes. Did you express that to them? Yes. And were they going to get you one? They didn't say nothing about helping us with the computer. They just said that's the only offer they had about her taking it in the internet, and she would have to, like, maybe stay until 6 o'clock at night in the school. Open another board with it. All right, I'll get that information from you. And then I just want to talk about sharing information. My councilwoman, I do understand her position. I certainly see it all the time. And that's fine. But what I know about this council, what's so unique about this council, is that we all work in certain branches of government. We all bring different perspectives from different parts of the city that we serve. And I don't understand how you can have a problem and know that someone at the table could probably help you with it, and you not reach out. Gino has called me on school issues, and he's doing help. Manny's done the same. If I have an issue with county, I'll call you, or I'll call you. Even if there's some school thing that I have to issue, that I can talk to you. What I'm not understanding is if there was information about you that your council person would reach out to me. Certainly I have helped them with the pre-K thing and the special ed thing. I would love to have been able to help you, but look at your problem came to the forefront and it's needed. Surely time has been wasted because I certainly could have been working on doing some things for you directly. That's one of the benefits of this body. That's one of the dynamics of being able to share resources. You know what I mean? So I just want to say it. And I'll see you afterwards. Oh yeah, tell me about it.
As we did at the time. Mr. Segura, followed by Mr. Malone.
Yes. First of all, Mr. Fernandez, I want to understand your frustration. And I am glad that you're here today. And do not hesitate from this day on to ever come to this body or to make a phone call to any one of us if you need us. No matter whether it is about your child, about your well-being or whatever, just be free to do that, please. And I feel for you, and believe me, that's why we're here. We're going to do something about that. And those people, they're going to be held accountable, believe me. Mr. President, you know how we have talked about many times how we want to embrace the police as a body, and vice versa, so that these people here can actually trust them, just like Mr. Clark. Just like Mr. Clark was explaining. I am very, very sorry for what happened to them. And you know what? Furthermore, I know exactly what he's talking about, because I went to a police officer personally myself one time just to report a disorder right next to my house. And the police officer went and said, the council person told me that you were drinking beer and carrying on. And when I got to my house, I was put in a very bad predicament because there were some gang members and stuff like that, waiting for me. Thank God, I was able to dance my way around, and I wasn't hurt that night. And just last week, I had to call my good friend here, thank God, that he's always there to respond. But it was one citizen very, very frustrated because he received a notice from Mr. Jackson with all our names saying that he wanted to oblige by the law and comply by reporting this pile of garbage that was left on the front of his house. Mattresses, whole pile, all that stuff. He couldn't even see from his house. So he called the police officer, and the police officer went in and was just laughing about it. I can understand what you're saying. What would you say and things like that, and making fun of the guy. So now, okay, you can understand what I'm saying. Let me bring somebody that can translate it. He brought like a 12-year-old kid that is born and raised here, that can speak English. He still was, telling the kid, slow down, I don't know what you're talking about either, go on. So the kid got scared and ran away. Now, this is a temperament of a police officer that's supposed to protect. Not only that he chased the little kid and the men and scared the men away, but also he didn't even have the actual respect to call somebody to alleviate that problem, for that gentleman. And now, ever since, we hired Mr. Santiago, the policy is that we are open into the community as a department. But if we're not friendly to them, if we show that we don't support them, then they're not going to trust these people at any level. And I tell you what, Mr. Clark, it is not even Santiago. Some of these individuals, like that individual, is trying to make Santiago look bad all the time. So that he can get so frustrated and get out of here because he knows that he has put them to work and they refuse to work. And that's the problem. So we have to revisit again the policy in how these people, because I don't blame Santiago. Santiago cannot be personally and physically everywhere. He is trusting that each one of these members is going to do a job. Just like we are co-responsible here, just like the administration. Everybody do their piece. But if nobody else is willing to work as a team, it doesn't matter whether it's the police, us here, administration, nothing is going to happen. So, there's a lot of things, man, that we need to revisit here. Our educational is here. It's just up in the sky or on the ground. I don't know where it's at. So we just need to revisit that. It's on the ground, right? Below the ground, maybe. But anyway, we need to revisit definitely the attitude of some of these police officers. Like, how are you going to endanger the life of a citizen that is trying to do the best that he can or she can for all of us here? So, somehow, some way, I do have, I'm going to take this further, though. I do have the time and the police officer, a car number, and I'm going to do what I got to do. But I need the support, too, of his body here to do what we got to do. And, again, I cannot proceed and talk about, and again, all the rivalries throughout the phone calls. It's just so frustrated. It's continue, pile up every day, the tens and tens and tens. Every word, the east, the west, the south, the north, is rivalry and is just unbelievable stuff. And also, Mr. President, there was a matter on Hudson, and also, a whole bunch of people from Maryland that called Eugene saying that why did they left our body there? There was a body there, and they left that body there. Yeah, for the next day, or 24 hours, the body was laying on the street.
In the street? I know the street was blocked off on the street, and I rode
But it's still, even once blocked up, the body was laying on the ground. Not long, Mr. President.
No, I know it was that long, but I know it was long.
It was a human being being killed, no matter what. At the end of the day, it was a human being being laying down there, that long.
Kids had to witness that.
So, and kids going around seeing the body there, and a whole bunch of people calling them anyway. And the police was there, I wasn't going to ask no question to the police officer, nothing. I went there, I was looking and looking and looking. But that was the truth, Mr. President. I do not know why or how, but it was. That's what I have.
Mr. Long, followed by Ms. Yes, sir, yes, ma'am.
First, I do want to, Ms. Fernandez, thank you for coming out and being one of those concerned parents. Mr. Loughlin, looking at that resolution, if you listen to some of the testimony that she was given, the Sherman Avenue piece, as I stated when the superintendent was here, I'm sure is just a very small portion of what actually needs to be investigated at that Board of Education. Most of her comments were administrative concerns and not just the Sherman Avenue issue, and I'm sure no one around this table or throughout the city would dispute the fact that a failing school system that we have here in our city. So when you're rewriting that resolution, be sure that it does blanket the area that we can also investigate the poor management of our Board of Education that we've seen and continue to see. Whether it be 2 superintendents ago, or possibly, again, we can't point fingers at the new superintendent, but still the powers to be under that superintendent have been here and continue to be here. So regardless whether there's a new superintendent or not, the individuals that were here when the problem occurred and the problems have been occurring are still here. And so that resolution needs to be broad enough that we can also step in and, whatever the law allows us to do, investigate what needs to be investigated here. Speaking on behalf of the Hudson Street issue, Mr. Segura, you're absolutely right. The amount of time that that individual was left there was completely unacceptable to the residents in that area. And I just heard Jane's comment, too, that it was unacceptable. And Ms. Stewart did whisper in my ear, you know, as far as the legality part of waiting for the medical examiner. I was also told when I called with concern for the amount of time that this person was on the ground, that that's what they were waiting for. But the authorities do have the ability to request expedited service from either the examiner, or it could be done through a local hospital as well, or the ambulance that was called to the scene. They also have abilities and legal rights that the examiner also has. So there's other things that could have taken place that apparently didn't take place, and I hope that that doesn't occur again. And the people in that area, you know, don't, well, one, they shouldn't have to ever go through that, and no one else should have to go through that. The other thing I do want to touch base on, I know that Freeholder Mack has left. He brought the concern to the council about the need for the state police here. I can remember sitting in that seat when I had discussion and requested Mr. Santiago to enlist the assistance of the state police director, Santiago, I'm sorry. And at one point it was a nay. Just to clarify, and I may be mistaken, but I can recall the director stating that he does utilize now the state police in assisting us here in the city of Trenton. So I don't want to send the message out there that we're not utilizing the state police. We are utilizing the state police. I've called several times when I see helicopters or certain vehicles in my area, or people call me with concern, and I'm informed that those vehicles that aren't Trenton vehicles are from the state. Those helicopters are from the state, so I do know we do have state police. But I will express my concern that, you know, what is currently happening, a new course of action apparently needs to be taken. I have no doubt that the director is competent to do that, and I'm sure that he's working on doing that. Assure him that as a council member of this governing body, if in fact he does need additional manpower, that is something I have no problem in supporting him on. As long as we bring to control the problems we are having, you know, you can't put a price tag on someone's safety and someone's well-being. So I have no problem in supporting his efforts in securing our city and residents and visitors within it. That's basically all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. As well, you always on point with regard specifically to state police have been in the city of Tremolo over the years, going on too, as well as other agencies as well. Agreements with the State Attorney General's office as well as the United States Attorney General's office. So, I don't know what Mr. Mullins talked about, to Mr. Mack is talking about specifically. Maybe he doesn't see uniform police officers in the street, but nonetheless, you're signing the contract, you're sponsoring the resolutions for the dollars and cents that is thinking to provide the assistance necessary for these other agencies to help pass some of our law, public safety issues. Thank you for that clarification. Mr. T, followed by Ms. Costa.
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
I believe that I'm not going to move too far from this era, okay? See, I moved away and the draft was going. I got to stay here. I want to say this, that one of the biggest problems we have, I think, as a city and as an organization is lack of information, sharing information. I want to say that I appreciate each and every one of my council members who share information and have agreed to partner with me. But Zach is a fine example of what folks need to do when they come before this council. And that is prepare something in writing that asks specific questions. Most often people come before council with blanket statements about the state police and this, that, and the other. And I think it's an abomination that a freeholder who works in this county doesn't know what's going on in this city. I'm going to leave that alone, but that's important. So you get on board. That's important. The other thing is, as it relates to the teachers who are still in the school system and principals and administrators, I think, Mr. President, about a year and a half ago, you thought I was a bit radical because I wanted to fire every one of them. You know, I've been in a position where I wanted to fire the entire police department and bring the National Guard in, and then we went to war. Because let me tell you something. Any officer in this town who would put a resident at risk deserves to be incarcerated as far as I'm concerned. That's number one. They're here to serve and protect. And somewhere along the way, some of them, it's not all of them because we have some phenomenal police officers, but these police officers who badmouth this city, who get on forums and say, listen, don't ever go near those forums. It's such a sick, sick place. And for those who are commended and support and participate, they're just as sick. Because that is a venue of cowards, as far as I'm concerned. Any of them. But police officers who speak ill of the residents here, they've done it publicly, they ought to be terminated. Everybody should at least have the integrity to take pride in the job that they do. And when they cease to do that, they need to leave that job. I don't care who they are and who they represent. In terms of, the school board and where we're going to go with that, we're going to get some answers and we're going to make some recommendations. But let me just be emphatic about this. And see, this is to some offensive and to others informational. My kids were in that system. I know what that system is all about. I've participated in it. I've been there. And I'm telling you, 50% of those teachers deserve awards, pay increases, and all the support we can give them. Another 50% need to be gone. I'm sick of the tenure. I'm sick of the madness with the police department. I'm sick of the whole kit and caboodle. We got enough heart to come in here and bash the teachers and do what we need to do for them. But I don't see too many folks standing up to the police department. And they're some of the worst. That small group of police officers, because I certainly don't want to, digress to the grading of folk, is horrible. It is absolutely horrible. And that's what we need to do something about. If we start there, if we can start with that, we can round up a lot of other issues. There are many issues on the table, but we need to start with them. And I'm asking you, Mr. President, to send Director Santiago a letter and ask him, tell him that as a member of this legislative body, I'm disgusted with these police officers who think they can do what they want, when they want, and how they want it. I'm holding him accountable that the next time anybody comes in here, and I don't care who it is, and tells me that a police officer gave them up, I'll march on the State House. I'll do whatever I have to do to get rid of them. They don't deserve to be in that job. And the message must be sent that we are going to be intolerant of it. Mr. Segura, you're right. A lot of that is a small group of officers who refuse to conform and come in line with the people that are entrusted to do the job, we need to get rid of them. We need to get rid of them. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of them. Okay? That's number one. Number two is write Lofton that letter and tell him I want him to answer that question so that when he does not, and we move forward with the investigation, I will smack him around a bit.
I think we're going to move
Whether he answers the question or not.
We'll wait for that.
And listen, see, while we're looking at this, here's my question. I want to find out what the cap is going to be. What's the corrective action plan? What's the corrective action plan? Because as frustrated as I am about this, I've been trying to get rid of Lito since he came here, him and Priscilla. But, of course, I was labeled disgruntled, too. You know, nobody listened to me either. And so, we need to find out what they're going to do to correct this situation. And then we need to reach out to people in the community who have agreed to bring these students up to par and do whatever we need to do to assist them. That's fine. But I'm with Ms. Stewart. You know, that's one parent. See, you can't tell me about parents not showing up because I know. So, you know, what are they going to do? Can you tell us that? Is that a personnel issue too? What are they going to do to correct this? He has to have that to the state. And see, I don't like him hiding behind that personnel issue. I'm going to tell you. I can tell you right now there's going to be some problems. I don't like that. It's inappropriate. This is a legislative body that was elected by the city to represent the people. He could at least answer the very basic questions that are not illegal. Instead of hiding behind, I'm going to do a cap and I have to report to the state. So in other words, he's saying, the heck with what this body thinks. And that's my position. We need to do something about it. Y'all really want to do something. Let's schedule a public meeting to make some plans, to have an action plan to move on him, to move on these cops who are trying to destroy our city, and to move on anybody else who thinks that they can do what they want to do here. If you really want it. That's it.
Yeah, back to the Richard Sterling about changing now that job or too. What? About changing a job or two. Oh, biblical language. I'm not sure. Biblical language. That is biblical language.